All right, let's watch some slop.
Like we got some more slop for the piggies, and this one, I shit you not, if you saw the title on the thumbnail, Hassan has called for the death of Ethan Klein's wife. This shit is crazy. I have yet to see this clip yet, but the headlines are true. Let's listen to this shit, what Hassan just said live in front of 40,000. Wait, let me be completely correct here. How many viewers? Hassan said this live in front of 23,000 viewers. Hassan calling for the death of H3's wife.
Matter if they're DFLP, PFLP, or even former Fatah militants, okay? It is perfectly legal, perfectly valid, and perfectly moral, okay? 100%. This is not like this is not a gray area. This is black and white, okay? It doesn't get more black and white than this. Israel is in the wrong. Israel is actually engaging in an apartheid, which is a crime in and of itself. Israel's doing a genocide in Gaza and an apartheid in the West Bank. 2 crimes in and of itself. And every type of armed resistance against both the settlers and also the Israeli occupying force in the West Bank. Doesn't matter if it's your favorite podcasters like Wife that participate in the Israelis. Doesn't matter.
So, because there's a war in Israel and Palestine, Hassan says it's completely fine for you to go and kill Ela Klein because in her past, she was a part of the IDF, has since retired, had a family, migrated to another country, and has done nothing besides her required military service.
What's up, Grant?
Hassan is saying that you should be
What am I
allowed,
planning?
and
You're
it's
looking at it.
perfectly legal to go kill Ethan's wife.
You are
So
looking
because
at it.
Ethan Klein's wife had forced military service obligations, he believes that you should be allowed to go kill her. Guys, this is insane. This is fucking psychotic. I'm actually shocked this was even said live on the platform. And the worst thing is, I don't think he's gonna get banned at all. Why would he say that? Because he's retarded. You know what? No, even more than that, he's just a horrific, horrible human being. I cannot imagine calling for the death of someone's wife in front of your radicalized audience saying it's perfectly legal and perfectly moral to go kill Ethan's wife. Guys, he literally just had a call to action telling his entire audience to kill Ethan's wife and said it's completely fine. Do we understand how dangerous this is? Guys, the worst thing is, this was from 4 days ago. He never got banned for this. This was 4 days ago. Encouraging his entire audience to go kill a streamer's wife when I got banned for 2 weeks for calling Frogan fat and Denim's a whore, both of which they are. I'm actually shocked. I hope to God there's some background music in this fucking video because there's gonna be a lot of dead air because I'm fucking shocked. I genuinely cannot believe. I genuinely cannot believe this is on this platform. This is crazy. Oh my God. So would it be completely fine for me to say, Hassan, as a terrorist supporter, it's perfectly legal and it's so black and white for you to be killed because you support terrorism?
What was said? And go back.
Hassan is live with 23,000 viewers. Hassan calling for the death of H3's wife.
Matter if they're DFLP, PFLP, or even former Fatah militants, okay? It is perfectly legal, perfectly valid, and perfectly moral, okay? 100%. This is not like this is not a gray area. This is black and white, okay? It doesn't get more black and white than this. Israel is in the wrong. Israel is actually engaging in an apartheid, which is a crime in and of itself. Israel's doing a genocide in Gaza and an apartheid in the West Bank. 2 crimes in and of itself. And every every type of armed resistance against both the settlers and also the Israeli occupying force in the West Bank. Doesn't matter if it's your favorite podcasters like Wife that participate in the Israelis. Doesn't matter.
So, because
Basically calling out Ethan's wife for having been in the IDF. And saying, justifying the idea that, whatever actions are taken against them, regardless of who they are, is completely morally justified.
please leave a comment on how you feel about that. Also, like, comment the result, caught a week-long suspension. He hasn't wished death on either of us on YouTube since then, since he knows there are repercussions for making death threats on YouTube. Twitch, what the fuck are we doing? Genuinely. Twitch, what the fuck are we doing? Dude, this is like, I try to make like content out of these clips and like make it funny, but like this is beyond psychotic. This transcends a funny meme or a joke I can make. Guys, these are people's lives that streamers are calling for the ending of. You cannot. Now, once again, if you want to tell someone to kill themselves, that's not a threat, that's a suggestion. You can't tell your chat to go kill someone. It's legal and it's the good thing to do. Like that is crazy. Jesus. Okay. Well, moving forward from that, please leave a comment on how you feel about that. Also, like, comment, subscribe, and turn the bell on for all notifications if you're here, because I will be following this, and I will also be messaging Twitch directly about this clip immediately after this. Thank you for being here, by the way. We have Asmongold's response to IDubbbz's political analysis on him, and let's get into it.
I don't know what to say about that. I really don't. Yeah, totally misunderstood it. And it is what it is, right? He's high on something. I have no idea. I think that this is my opinion. I think that Ian is in a position where
all he does is parrot Hassan's talking points because that's all he knows what to do. He can't go live without a script. He just hears what Hassan says and then says the exact same fucking thing. He can't do this shit freestyle. He can't react to clips freestyle. He doesn't know what to say unless he's gotten his daddy's permission first.
Let me think of a good way to say this. Like, because as I said, I like IDubbbz, but
I used to like IDubbbz. I no longer have any respect for the guy, because why would I?
I think that he's in over his head with this stuff.
Anybody who would backstab his best friend like that for a couple of views to promote an event of his is a guaranteed piece of shit. Now, I like IDubbbz without Anissa, and I do believe that Anissa completely ruined him alongside Hassan and co. Because IDubbbz used to be cool. We all used to be fans of this fucking guy. But in 2025, IDubbbz has never been more of a bitch in his entire life.
I think that you've LARPed a lot as like having these viewpoints and being around these groups of people. And I think that you've taken on a lot of these traits, but you haven't really done enough time to like really look at where these
Hila Clint deserved to be killed while she was serving the IDF and operating in the West Bank, but is also encouraging that people kill who stop serving. I don't know if he's putting a time frame on it. I'm not sure if it's a past, present, future kind of situation. Trump driving his personal electric cars? No, I haven't. I've only seen Trump. Did he drive like a? No, that was Biden. Biden drove like a Ford Lightning, whatever the EV was. No, I haven't seen that.
Values are.
But I'm just giving you a heads up right now. I'm not doing any links. I did links all last weekend, and it drove me nuts. So I'm just not doing any links today.
Coming from and why people are saying these things. That's what it seems like to me. And he needs to stay in his lane. Yeah, he doesn't understand much. Yeah, and again, like I maybe he just misunderstood me, but it seems like because he didn't understand like the core root of what I was really trying to get at here, you know, how much of this are you like really like, is this really something you believe in, or is this just something that you're pushing and you're saying that you're believing in it? Because it certainly seems pretty inauthentic for somebody to make that comparison.
A lot of things that Asmongold can say can seem harsh if you don't understand where he's coming from. But if you actually look into what it is he's actually saying, why it is he's saying that, and not just have a gut reaction, things will make a lot more sense. It really, really, really will. Now, a lot of people could say, well, can't you say the same thing about Hassan? I want you to tell me how you can justify saying the Houthis deserve a Nobel Peace Prize when they're killing children and bombing airports. And if the same guy is, how can you justify Hassan making a direct call to action to killing H3's wife? That's crazy. That is fucking crazy. Here we go. Let's keep going. I don't know what the context of this is. This is apparently Hassan calling out Destiny over his kid, which I love when Hassan and Destiny fight. It's the best. It's the best. Keep it between those two. It's great.
Further than Destiny, Sex Pestiny, who has spent every waking moment in the last 7 years at this point, actively coming after marginal left figures, people like myself.
You know what's
marginal.
By Hassan's definition of sex pest, Denims is also a sex pest as well as Hassan.
I mean,
because all he means by sex pesting.
Look, we'll get back to Lynx at some point this week. It's just that Lynx drove me crazy last weekend, so I'm just not doing them tonight. This is like the first weekend I've had where I'm not going crazy with work, so I'm just trying to catch up on stuff I haven't watched yet. But we will get back to some Lynx this week.
Is someone who pesters someone for sex, and Denims was literally on her knees begging Destiny for sex, but he was too aloof to understand that. And with how many nudes that Hassan has received from his fans, you know for sure he was begging for that shit as well. Which, by the way, if you're sending nudes to a streamer, you're retarded.
With endless sequences of harassment, ridiculous smear campaigns, all this stuff. And it hasn't really been successful for his own career necessarily, but it has been successful in, I think, undermining the broader reception of the left by a larger audience that already wasn't going to be super charitable to the left anyway. And in that process, I think, instead of converting a lot of these right-wingers and Nazis into liberals who vote for the Democratic Party, I think he ends up pushing them to the max.
I think this is the first time Hassan has ever said that right-wingers and Nazis are different things. So good on him, man. Character development. I thought everybody who voted for Donald Trump is a neo-Nazi. So good for him for making that distinction, though, in my opinion, it was probably accidental.
Maximalist position of anti-communism and anti-socialism, which is always going to be Nazism and fascism. And the greatest example of this is, of course, his son. Streamer Destiny's son.
Hassan, keep it about the person you're talking to challenge. Challenge impossible. Yep, we can't just talk about Destiny. We got to talk about their families. This is great. Yep, this is so good.
Nathan Bonnell tweets, Hitler is a hero while praising Nazi Germany. The Nazis were protecting the West by invading Poland. The Reich was a blockade against the USSR and the rest of Europe. They took up all responsibilities of the failing Polish government, and they stated this explicitly multiple times. Hitler is a hero, he said. This kid is...
Sounds exactly like you, Hassan. This kid sounds exactly like you. How are you not understanding the absurdity of this when it sounds like this guy's praising Hitler the same way you praised the Houthis? You're looking into a mirror and saying, oh my God, I can't believe he said this. Hassan, he's mimicking your talking points.
He's like 14, I think. I don't know how old he is. Okay, this is Destiny's son. He's been on the internet since he was a baby. And worse, he's been on Destiny's Discord since he was a baby, okay? And of course, when you pair that up with just being a shitty deadbeat father who is way more invested in creating a cyber stalking sex cult.
So Hassan, are you saying that if Destiny's kid says that he was an avid viewer of yours, that you should also bear that entire responsibility on his upbringing? Brother, this is a 14-year-old kid. Why are you psychoanalyzing the tweets of a 14-year-old kid? Jesus.
Who routinely will align with neo-Nazis, tries to fuck prominent white nationalists and white supremacists like Lauren Southern, and you create a community of people who are from all of those different ideological backgrounds, and then you put your 7-year-old, 8-year-old son into that community. This is going to be the outcome. This is the outcome of someone who is extremely online. It's an incredibly sad state of affairs.
He's being misunderstood and others.
What does Hassan's kid
probably.
do? Does anybody know what Hassan's kid's doing? Oh, he doesn't have any? Oh.
Only opposite of Nazi
okay.
is
Maybe he shouldn't
socialist.
fucking talk that.
That's he really said that?
Oh, some guy in chat says raping goats. Oh, okay. All right, great.
That's it. It's probably a cry for help. It's probably a way to try and get attention from his father. It's really, really sad.
Do we not get how weird this is that we have a grown 45-year-old man trying to psychoanalyze the relationship between a father and son on the internet just to get some fucking dunk points because this guy isn't politically aligned with me? Like, fuck, this is so weird. Like, Jesus Christ, this is so weird. Now, once again, I would like to say, I think a father has much more of a responsibility of their child's action than a child has of their father's, or than their father. Right?
minute
Like,
ago?
a father
Okay.
is responsible for the upbringing
in
of
the
their
cl-
child.
okay, in the clip. I
But a
thought you meant like a
child is
different clip.
not responsible for the upbringing of their father. But even still, making this a familial issue is so weird because now Hassan is beefing with a 14-year-old online. I think this shit is so lame, bro.
He said it's because you and his dad kicked him out of your Discord. He's obviously isolated and it's kind of sad. He was in my Discord? Why the fuck was he in my Discord? Yeah, we don't let anybody under the age of 18 out of the fucking Discord. What is it? What kind of stupid shit is this?
Oh, so it was Hassan's fault. Oh, that's crazy, Hassan, because by your own logic, you were the one who radicalized that child. And isn't that crazy when the mirror is shown to you? Man, ain't that a bitch? Ain't that a bitch? That's crazy how he sounds like he's mimicking your talking points. Really weird how you were blaming all Destiny for him being in his Discord when he was in yours too, buddy. Oh man, pot meat kettle, very interesting. Jesus, this guy's retarded. Let's keep going here.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Bro, it's so cringe.
Yep.
Bro, everybody obsessively trying to influence like Nathan's politics or following his shit or looking at his Twitter. Listen, Nathan's on some unhinged shit right now, okay? Let him be unhinged. I've said the same thing a million times. I'll continue to say the same thing a million times. Kids are crazy. Let him be crazy for a bit. He's still like this at 18. We'll have some concerns or whatever, but this like obsession of trying to prove,
Fried
like,
chicken or
also,
something? Sure I do.
I like how it's like my mom and dad are hardcore MAGA. The rest of my family basically is all MAGA. I'm like a hardcore, the #1 Trump hater in the fucking world. My kids' mom's family is all insane MAGA. I don't know where, like my kids, how do I say this? Is there a quick way to say this? My kid's mom's mom, so his grandma, I'm not trying to be mean here. Fuck, oh shit, I'm doing the lose-lose-lose thing where I'm revealing more personal. I think I've said this before. She believes in like the prosperity gospel, okay?
And then what does your wife's boyfriend's family do? Sorry. It's a joke. It's a joke.
They like watches TV with like the pastors who think that if you donate more money to the church or whatever, that you'll be more safe. Like, I like how all these people exist, but it's like any bad thing he's doing, it's because his dad is a Nazi. Okay.
Streamer Destiny's son, Nathan Bonnell, tweets Hitler is a hero while praising...
Also, wait, is that guy, was that Hassan's editor? Is that who that tweet person is or whatever? The Twitter account?
Dick Zerdonox? Yes.
See Germany. The Nazis were protecting the West by invading Poland. The Reich was a blockade against the USSR and the rest of Europe. They took up all responsibilities of the failing Polish government, and they stated this explicitly multiple times. Hitler is a hero, he said.
Jesus
This kid
Christ.
is like 14, I think. I don't know how old he is. Okay, this is Destiny's son. He's been on the internet.
If my League of Legends all chat logs from when I was 15, 16 were leaked, I would not have a career right now. Or I would have a much bigger career. It really depends on what algorithm I go into. Yeah, people would be spamming based or, man, this guy's fucking racist. Really depends on the algorithm, guys.
Since he was a baby. And worse, he's been on Destiny's Discord since he was a baby, okay? And of course...
I feel like I've had Nathan on my stream, I think like 5 times. And I think when he was around like 8 or 9, maybe, I think I was like, I don't think I want him on my stream a lot because it feels kind of weird. But apparently now he's been there the whole time. Okay.
When you pair that up with just being
And it sounds like when they talked about my dad, about how Techno brought his dad in front of all these streamers on all these streams. Meanwhile, I've had my dad on stream like 5 times in 6 years. And the only time he was ever around other creators in person
Hold on one second.
was Steak and Eggs with Emmy and Asmon because they told me to invite my father. And the other time was via VR chat, where 2 women got him to go on his knees and bark for them like a dog. Every other time was just me and him. And you know what's crazy? I literally offered a person $500 to find me a clip of my dad being around any other female streamers on my stream, and they could not find that shit. The other streams were like Zizix and Colin. You know what I mean? It's like, God, these people are so disingenuous, it's insane.
a shitty deadbeat father who
Based.
is way more invested in creating a cyber stalking sex cult.
Cyber stalking sex cult. Okay, based.
Can't believe that Nuxtaku and Mudahar both had these weirdos on the podcast multiple times. I think it's fine to have anybody on your podcast, but what's the problem is when you
My favorite. Are you? Well, I mean, if I tell you my favorite, are you about to tell me how horrible of a place it is? Is that where this is going?
from someone like that, and you
I don't know. I mean, it just depends on what it is, probably. Like, I think in terms of sides, I probably like something like Popeyes or Church's better. If it's more the actual chicken, I don't know. You can't go wrong with KFC. But if I had to choose one, I don't know. It might be Popeyes just because I like their chicken sandwich. I didn't realize that. I just figured. I figured. Don't you know that KFC does blah 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 blah? I'm not saying you're going to say that. It's just that was my my pessimism. Going mask off. I don't know, but probably if it was just chicken, probably KFC. If it was sides, it'd either be Church's or Popeyes. Why the pessimism? I'm just used to it at this point. With every conversation I've had with people that I've met, I'm not saying you're like this specifically. I'm just like, anytime I meet somebody completely anonymous in my chat, sometimes it's all it you know, once you stream for a while, you get used to people just coming in and fucking being, I don't know, contrarian or. Never had Church. Church is okay. Like I said, I think I like the sides better there than like the actual chicken, but it just depends. There's like, because the thing is, I've never had like Bojangles. That's another big chain. I never had Jollibee. I've heard Jollibee's really good. I'd like to try that. I'm never going to try their ketchup spaghetti thing. I'm not doing that. But I heard their chicken's really good. So, what's up, Dilla? How you doing?
don't combat their views, right? As long as you're not enabling them, you should be able to talk to someone, especially if you're confronting them. It's very different.
My favorite thing also, whenever people start posting about my son, it's always torn between like 3 different things. One is, it's a good thing that he is a deadbeat dad because he's crazy. And if he was involved in his son's life, it would be even worse. And then 2 is that I'm too involved in his life somehow and I've turned him into a Nazi. And then 3 is that some combination of the other 2, and then he's rebelling against me by becoming a Nazi. And then, yeah, okay.
Who?
Yeah, I think the thing is that Hassan knows that Destiny has raped his brain. And so he's willing to pull up any talking point in order to score an easy dunk on streamer Destiny. Why don't you just get in a call with Destiny, Hassan? Why don't we try and do that? Hassan calls out Ethan Klein. Guys, this is also in the past 24 hours, all these clips. Hassan calls out Ethan Klein joining Kick. He's a hypocrite. Great.
Well, I hate KFC fries. I love Burger King, Popeyes, and McDonald's fries. KFC fries are good, man, because I don't know what they do with it. It's not even about the fry. It's about the seasoning they put on their fry. McDonald's fries, they have to be hot and crispy. If they're not, then they're fucking trash. Burger King fries used to be really bad. Now they're at least better. Nothing beats really though, like something like Five Guys. Five Guys is probably the best fries. But I love KFC fries. It's just, but the thing is that the thing that makes a KFC fry is the seasoning. Like, I think they might even take like dehydrated fucking chicken skin or something, like deep fried chicken skin that they dehydrate and put into a blender with spices and fucking sprinkle that on their fries. It's like crack. I think it's really good.
This is also very humorous because it was also leaked that Hassan has logs of him begging to join Kick when the platform first started.
Bro, what? Is there anything that these dudes believe in? Anything at all? It's literally a
Why are we drawing the line at gambling? Like, genuinely. Why are we drawing the line at gambling? Hassan, you did a gambling sponsor like 3 days ago where you played a fucking gotcha game. Why are we acting like gambling is the be-all, end-all, worst thing of all time when you're out here sucking the dick of Osama bin Laden?
platform designed to bring in more people to the online, unaccountable cryptocurrency casino. He did countless hours of shitting on Kick. And that's before we even talk about like the explosive anti-Semitism.
Uh-oh. I can already hear this one coming.
No way Hassan is talking about anti-Semitism when he's one of the most anti-Semitic streamers on the platform, as well as Twitch is the most anti-Semitic platform on the internet, barring 4chan. This is insane.
How fucking bad is the Teddy Fresh sales that you're doing this? Jesus Christ, dude. God damn how hypocritical this is. Holy
He's mad because he wants to join Kick, but he's already talked so much shit that he can't. We have some more drama about these two streamers, but we don't really care. We have one final clip of Destiny calling out Hassan one last time.
The Ukrainians want this more to end more than anyone. But I think referring to Ukraine as a proxy for the United States, really denies the Ukrainians agency in a way that I just don't think is right.
I don't disagree with you on this, by the way.
Oh, yes, yeah. His chat is actually insane. What the fuck? Yeah, his chat is crazy. I feel like dude, if the next shooter comes from his fucking chat, I think that, not to pull a big Dan here, but I feel like Dan Clancy and Twitch, like some of these people should be charged with crimes. It is insane that it's just like a fucking terrorist recruiting platform on Twitch now for this guy's chat. It's actually wild.
Of course, I
think the first shooter has already come from Hassan's chat. I do. And I think it's a joke that Twitch still hasn't stepped in to do anything about this. A very sad day for the unemployed. I really don't know. I mean, I would genuinely question any of my friends' intellect if they were to tell me that they are actually viewers of Hassan. And what's crazy is, and I mean this generally, guys, you need to encourage and remind people the horrible things that Hassan has done. Genuinely, you do. And back it up with clips. When people tell you that they're a fan of Hassan, you need to show them the clips of him showing that him saying that Asmongold is a pedophile, him saying that Asmongold killed his own mother, him saying that Nuxtaku is a pedophile, him saying that Mudahar is a pedophile, him saying that he supports the Houthis 10 toes down, him saying that people should go kill Elon Klein's wife, or Ethan's wife. It's just psychotic behavior, and it's crazy how it makes me feel like I'm taking fucking crazy pills. Because everybody here knows that he should be banned. And the only reasonable line of logic that I can think of on why he's not is because Twitch agrees, and that's it.
Interesting. Never had KFC fries, just the salty French ones? No, the regular fucking KFC fries have like some kind of fucking magic chicken dust on them. It's fucking delicious. Drumsticks, I don't like thighs, nuggets, and strips. I just don't like breasts. I like boobs, but not breasts. No. No, in terms of chicken, yeah, I think anything but breasts because, it's just white meat tends to be, pretty dry, or it can be. So wings, drumsticks, thighs, things like that. I'm all about that. The juice used at KFC, Popeyes. Does that lack proper amounts of juices in this kind of blend? Yeah, I don't particularly. I mean, I don't think Popeye's chicken is bad. It's just if I had to choose, I'd probably just go old school and go KFC. Maybe that's fucking boring, but I don't mind. I'm pretty adventurous in other areas of my culinary adventures, so I don't really need fried chicken spots to do more than what they're supposed to do. And KFC's had a pretty winning formula on that for like a fucking century, I guess. I don't know. Actually, the original. What was it called? I don't know. There was a place like a couple blocks from where I live here in San Antonio that was the original partner of Colonel Sanders. I forget the guy's name. I think it's like Admiral Abel or something. I don't know I don't know what his name was, but it was a place a couple blocks from me that was like where the KFC dream pretty much started. In terms of the secret recipe and all that. And they recently closed. I want to say maybe like in the past. They were around for a long time, like a fucking century, and they closed in the past year, which is sad. But yeah, if I go to Popeyes, I do like, the chicken sandwich. The chicken sandwich there's good, but everything else I'm just like, whatever. They do have like chicken sandwich and the fucking, I think it's like the hot apple. Oh shit. The hot apple pies. Who saw me? What happened here? Whoa. What the fuck was that? I don't know what happened there. Do I go to Red Lobster? I haven't been to Red Lobster in many years. I'm not opposed to it. I'd be down. I love, crab and lobster and stuff, but I think it's just Red Lobster is like not like, the best quality of an experience. Although those fucking Cheddar Bay biscuits they got are fucking amazing. Who is shooting me? Let me get my fucking sniper rifle out. So I'm not against it. I would go there. I would totally go there, get some endless shrimp and crab and hang out. I'm not against it. I would do it. I love like crab and lobster and shrimp. It's definitely one of my, that would be like a death row kind of meal for me. Crab, lobster, butter, lemon. Fucking, it's amazing. Let's see here. Okay, let's see.
God, this guy. Noah Samson, ladies and gentlemen. I generally don't take advice on what constitutes anti-Palestinian racism from people who justify bombing hospitals. Here's you doing that. I'm sorry, I cited international law. Let's watch the clip.
That is part of the reason why Israel is bombing
Surely this clip is not going to be very selectively edited, guys. Surely, no.
hospitals.
Does anybody
Bombing
dispute this?
hospitals is a war crime.
No, it's not.
Okay? Bombing hospitals is a war crime. In your
not.
conversation in your
To be clear, and I'm not saying all hospitals should be bombed. I just said right there in the clip, and I'm not saying all hospitals should be bombed. Okay, but there's no such thing as like a building that is exempt from bombing if it's a valid military target.
gone back and forth.
I'm not sticking up for bombing every hospital. I'm saying if you set up shop, I even say it in the clip. I say in the clip, I'm not justifying bombing every hospitals. I guess he just disagrees with the Geneva Conventions. I guess we're just throwing those out the window. No more international law, I guess. But I mean, if you're going to do that, then I guess you can't call Netanyahu a war criminal anymore, because I guess fucking we just get rid of international law, you know? Is that what we're doing? Are we just throwing the conventions out? I mean, like, you tell me, what are we supposed to do here? I thought that those were a pretty good kind of like roadmap for how to not, you know, repeat the atrocities that took place as a result of the total war of like World War II, where we're just carpet bombing Dresden, you know, or Tokyo. How was it a valid military target? I don't even know what you mean by it. I'm not specifically referring to any particular military strike. I'm just saying that if a hospital, there's like, you can look it up. It's in the Geneva Conventions. There are certain buildings that are meant for, you know, civilian infrastructure that are that have protections from being bombed in a war. Like you can't just target a hospital. Like let's say there's, you know, 200 Hamas fighters and they're injured as a part of some Israeli offensive, and then they go to a hospital to be treated. You can't bomb that hospital. That would be a war crime. That would be a war crime, obviously. However, if a military force such as Hamas stores weapons, or they store healthy militants in a hospital, or they launch rockets from a hospital, the hospital loses protections. That is what international law says. And for good reason. The idea that any military, or rather, the idea that any building can be just permanently, unconditionally immune from bombing, that doesn't work. Can you think about it for more than 2 seconds as to like why that obviously doesn't work? Why don't I create a hypothetical and you tell me what you think? All right, let's say America, let's say Donald Trump, he gets sick and tired of Canada. He says, you know what? Trudeau, or I don't know, who's the new prime minister? Canada. I'm so sick of their shit. They're always sassing me on social media. They're always savaging me in the media. You know what? I want to nuke Canada. Here's what we're going to do, though. We're going to set up shop in hospitals along the U.S.-Canadian border. We're going to move our entire military infrastructure into hospitals along the border, and then we're going to launch nuclear.
Yeah, but what do you think? What do you think is the best burger? Hands down, best fast food burger.
Nuclear weapons into Canada. Can Canada retaliate? You tell me. Can they retaliate in that spot or not? Mandela, that's a question for you. That's a question for whoever else was in Ham. Mandela and Ham. Can Canada retaliate in that spot? Yes or no? Not a good comparison. I'm not comparing it to anything. What do you think I'm comparing it to? No, because it would make their argument look bad. I think everybody intuitively understands how fucking ridiculous this is. Now, do I believe every claim that Israel has made with respect to hospitals in Gaza? At this point, I don't know how I could. At this point, I don't know how, or you could, not even at this point, you can go back much further. There was already enough destruction much earlier than this time, but I don't know how anyone could just take Israel at their word, quite frankly, given their track record, given the fact that they don't really do much to meaningfully punish war criminals in their own country. What did Lonerbox say was the longest sentence anyone ever received for war crimes in Israel? It was like 3 months or something like that. And when you look at the sheer destruction that we see in Gaza, I don't know about you guys, I don't take Israel at their word that every single one of their strike was justified on civilian infrastructure. I just don't. But my point in this clip here, which is just wild, because like in the clip, I'm saying I'm not saying it's justified to bomb like any hospital. Like I say it very clearly in the clip. And he just like, these people are so fucking dishonest. Everybody can see it too. Like I feel like everybody outside of their niche, online, like hyper niche, purity tested into oblivion online community, everybody outside of that community knows how fucking dishonest and deranged these people are. They just lie constantly. Ham. I don't think you're wrong on technical grounds, but your response in the clip feels like cold comfort and kind of like a non-ideal place to stake your flag. Not great optics. Fuck your optics. I don't care. I don't care, man. I just don't care. I also want to say that I'm also not saying that Hamas never operates out of hospitals. It's documented. We know they've done this. And in those cases, Hamas committed the war crime. Do you understand that? Do you understand if Hamas puts a single fucking healthy military age guy that's in the Hamas like militant group in a hospital, they've now made a target out of that hospital. Do you understand that? Anytime they've stored munitions in a hospital, they committed a war crime. Anytime they've fired rockets from a hospital, they committed a war crime. If you're going to be upset about a military force that does something to put civilians in harm's way to the extent that it's a war crime, you should be upset that Hamas has committed war crimes with respect to civilian infrastructure. So a healthy soldier in a hospital means it's fair game. You still have to follow, like international law also has conditions with respect to proportionality. Like it has to be a proportionate response. So if it's a single militant and then you bomb a hospital and then like 200 people get killed, then that would be a war crime because you're not respecting the principle of proportionality whatsoever. If you store 20 if you hide like 20 militants in a hospital or 100 militants or 200 militants, you have now made that hospital a valid military target. You have committed the war crime in that spot. Ian says, just because retaliation is justified, that doesn't mean leveling the entire block. You're on thin ice, Ian. You're on thin ice, buddy. I'm this close. Don't make me do it. What did I just say? What the did I just say? What did I just say? 2 seconds ago, I literally said that. Why do you feel the need to clarify that to me? Do you think I'm implying that like any kind of response doesn't need to be proportionate? Jesus Christ, why do you feel the need to clarify? These people are just like dishonest as and in the case of Noah, he straight up said, protests aren't enough. We have close physical proximity to these politicians and propagandists, and we need to escalate. This guy is straight up doing stochastic terrorism with his audience. Meanwhile, he's not putting his ass on the line. He's not doing a Luigi Mangione. He's not risking his own personal safety or freedom to do this radical action. He's like nudging his audience to escalate with politicians and Israeli propagandists that they have close physical proximity to. He's like nudging his audience to do that. He's not the one fucking 3D printing a gun with a silencer and going out there and doing crazy shit. Why does anyone have respect for this guy? I don't understand. It's just like textbook explicit stochastic terrorism. It's two articles, I think. It's Article 18 and 19 of the Geneva Convention. Article 18 of the Geneva Convention. Let's have a gander. Civilian hospitals organized to give care to the wounded and sick, the infirm, and maternity cases may in no circumstances be the object of attack, but shall at times be respected and protected by the parties to the conflict. States which are parties to a conflict shall provide all civilian hospitals with certificates showing that they are civilian hospitals and that the buildings which they occupy are not used for any purpose which would deprive these hospitals of protection in accordance with Article 19. Civilian hospitals shall be marked by means of the emblem provided for in Article 38 of the Geneva Convention for the amelioration of the condition of the wounded and sick and armed forces in the field of August 12, 1949, but only if so authorized by the state. The parties to the conflict shall, insofar as military considerations permit, take the necessary steps to make the distinctive emblems indicating civilian hospitals clearly visible to the enemy, land, air, and naval forces in order to obviate the possibility of any hostile action in view of the dangers to which hospitals may be exposed by being close to military objectives. It is recommended that such hospitals be situated as far as possible from such objectives. Article 19, the protection to which civilian hospitals are entitled shall not cease.
I thought it was going to be more about Noah Samson.
The UK may increasingly be a crime-ridden cesspit, but police are hot on the case of the real hardcore criminals, men who catcall female joggers.
These women aren't friends out for a run. They're actually undercover police officers taking to the streets in Surrey as part of a new operation trying to stop people catcalling and harassing female runners.
How is this fucking real? Yes, rape and sexual assault may be soaring, much of it thanks to all the doctors and engineers we've imported, and maybe a new case of an illegal immigrant molesting a girl or a woman every single day. But thank God cops are cracking down on the real threat. White van drivers in Surrey ogling lycra-clad runners.
We get honked at, the staring, the hanging out of the window just to look at us, and it's so prevalent.
Pakistani grooming gangs, sex trafficking white English girls, Dave the Randy plumber tooting his horn at the ladies.
And police teams are ready to intervene the moment the officers are beeped at, followed or shouted at, pulling people over.
Have you got a licence to be honking that horn?
Those kind of behaviours may not be criminal offences in themselves, but they still need to be addressed.
Wait, what?
Those kind of behaviours may not be criminal offences in themselves.
Fabulous use of police resources to go out on the hunt for people who aren't committing crimes. Fancy a jog around the local migrant hotel, ladies?
Just go away. Please leave me alone. No. No. You're sorry, then don't touch me. Don't touch me. I don't like being touched. My sister, yeah? I don't like being touched, sorry. Hey. No.
How about a visit to the gym? Well, at least he's not catcalling.
So I think it's important, police are taking it so serious. It's one of our force priorities.
Not like there's many real criminals to find in Surrey, is it? Like those responsible for a fourfold increase in shoplifting. Feral urban youths are so emboldened by the UK's descent into anarchic lawlessness. Not only will they brazenly loot shops in broad daylight, they'll record themselves doing it and proudly post it on TikTok.
Who's A-Bags at? I'm greedy.
Mentally ill nutcases are everywhere, randomly attacking people on the street.
Yo, you stop this guy to the keep control. I'm gonna walk away from it, though.
Exposing themselves in front of kids.
You need to get off the fucking train, bro. You need to get off. Fuck off! You need to get off the fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck off! What do you mean fuck off? Fuck off! You need to get off the fucking train, mate. There's fucking kids about, man. Right, let's go. What the fuck, man? Get off the fucking train, man. Put up your trousers. Put up your trousers. Put up your fucking trousers, mate. No.
And when real men step in to deal with it, the police then hunt them down for tackling the aggressive pervert. And then the media smears them for attacking a poor defenceless victim who was just having a mental health crisis. Still, at least they're cracking down on catcallers.
It's one of our force priorities.
Oh, yeah,
Many
you've seen this.
high-profile men have been reduced to passive, emasculated slobs who embody unhealthy lifestyles, in the process tacitly encouraging everyone else to let themselves go. Instead of keeping mentally and physically fit, and helping out towards that end is NMN. That's nicotinamide mononucleotide, a natural supplement which is vital for the functioning of 37 trillion cells in your body, and which can help reduce weight, cholesterol, and even blood pressure in overweight adults, meaning it can... This weird new leftist gaslighting that, almost as disturbing as the rampant lawlessness itself, is this weird new...
Filet fish, Big Tasty, Popeye's Voodoo, Green Whopper, so like a type of Big Mac from McDonald's. Disappeared from the menu, don't remember exact name. Yeah, usually if the only sandwiches I ever get from McDonald's are a Big Mac, extra pickles, and fucking like a double cheeseburger or something like that. That's it. BK, I'll go Whopper, extra pickles, bacon double cheeseburger. Wendy's, I usually go junior bacon, I'll get like a couple junior bacon cheeseburgers. And I guess those are the big three. That's usually what I get. Yeah. Filet of fish. I have not had a filet of fish in many, many years. I'm sure it's good. I just don't know what kind of fish they use. You know, I don't know if it's like farmed tilapia or some shit like that, or...
leftist gaslighting that everyone's imagining it and it's not really happening.
Particularly online and in the online right. London increasingly being set up as this kind of hellhole, this kind of dystopian nightmare where crime is completely out of control.
I guess the women must be imagining it, Lewis.
You can barely walk out of your house without getting beaten up or your possessions stolen from you or taken from you.
I guess the 80,000 Londoners who had their phone stolen in a single year must have just imagined it too.
Where fare evasion is completely rampant on the tube.
Fare evasion is rampant.
Where the tube is looking like kind of Gotham City or something like that from a sort of 1990s Batman film.
The tube does look like something from Gotham City.
The fabric of London's transport system is in decline under Sadiq Khan. From endless graffiti plastering the tubes, to unchallenged fare evasion where staff stand and watch, to even taking drugs on the network. It's simply not good enough, and we're going to hold him to account on it.
You know, on and on it goes.
So many sad little bots on here triggered by actual facts about a city they certainly don't live in and probably haven't visited for years, if ever. Proceeds to get totally owned in the comments by people who literally live in London. Oh, all these fabricated right-wing myths about crime being proven by facts, lived experience and manifestly observable reality.
You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows.
Almost every single reform and far-right mouthpiece are telling us that Britain is lawless. Same guy literally got mugged twice. Oh, Britain's not lawless. Supermarkets are putting security tags on £2 blocks of cheese just for fun. Shoplifting's increased 55% since 2022. 60% of people don't even bother reporting crime because they know the police will probably do nothing. In half the country, literally 0 burglaries were solved by police. And even if charges are brought, our corrupt judicial system lets criminals off with a slap on the wrist. This 23-year-old Nigerian sexually assaulted a woman putting his hand down her jogging bottoms. At least he didn't catcall her though. And didn't even get prison time because the judge said it had been a momentary aberration, and he had suffered a troubled background and difficult life. Yeah, maybe he's the real victim. Uber have received reports of sexual misconduct every 8 minutes for 5 years. A perplexing mystery. Sadiq Khan boasts about 4 types of crime going down in London, one of which, personal robbery, only went down because everyone in London is now terrified to wear a watch or use their phone in public. He conveniently failed to mention that 6 other types of serious crime are significantly up, despite the right-wing doomsayers claiming otherwise, the reality is crime is falling and has been for some time. Crime literally rose by 10% in a single year. This is the real England. People enjoying themselves with a band on a sunny Sunday afternoon.
Maybe I'll check one out. It's been a while since I had one.
Gammon falsely paint, she says, posting from a nearly 90% majority white area. No one's falling for your insipid gaslighting. People have eyes. They can see that the places they've lived in for decades are getting interminably worse, and no amount of statistical cherry picking can conceal the noticeable decay manifesting itself at every turn. If you value what I do and you want to help support me, please visit pauljosephwatson.locals.com and either pledge a one-time donation or subscribe to join my community, get early access videos, and message me directly. And exclusive live streams coming soon too. Promise. Check out the Locals link down in the description. And don't forget to take a look at the brand new website, modernity.news. That's where you'll find all my content, including exclusive articles. That's modernity.news.
So the protests in Britain are getting a lot larger. So basically, the UK is being occupied by a government that's actively working against its own citizens. They're importing infinite migrants and infinite third worlders. They're actively censoring anybody who talks about it. They're trying to police speech as much as they can. And they're trying to effectively speedrun V for Vendetta. That's what's happening.
Oh, no.
It feels like everywhere in the UK is breaking out into protest at the moment. The scale of it is unlike anything I can remember.
Great.
And we'll take a look at it in this video. But for perspective, Friday saw around 20 protests, Saturday even more, and there are more happening today. So, yeah, it's huge. In fact, there are too many protests for me to keep track of or even dream of hoping to cover.
Great.
And that is a good thing. The left, by comparison, funded by the Socialist Workers' Party, seem to be running out of capital and manpower.
Well, they're also running out of... The thing is that a lot of these leftist causes, their economy truly is emotion. And so to the extent that they can no longer emotionally manipulate people to make them agree to give up their homeland and to allow rapists to run free in their country, to the extent that they can't do that, their power is gone. They don't have any power. It's the entire power structure they have is emotional blackmail. You take that away and there's nothing left.
Aren't that many people you can bus up and down the country to keep annoying locals. And when they do show up, they just get humiliated, mocked, and run out of town.
Good.
We'll take a look at that as well. But the reason for it, let's be honest, is relatively simple. Most of these protests are locals voicing their concerns over things that have happened in their community.
That's
so
right.
when you show up with your luxury beliefs like refugees welcome plastered on a little placard, it just doesn't really cut it. You can shout fascist and racist and them all you want.
What these people should do is they should take these refugees and then relocate them to the rich areas of the town that are primarily of this viewpoint, and then watch the refugees totally fucking distort everything and fuck everything up. Because they will. That's exactly what happened in Martha's Vineyard. And I think that that's the best way to do it, by the way. And put them somewhere else. Yeah. Put them in the position. It's like, if you want to believe in this, okay, fine. Now you have to deal with it. They call you racist, by the way, for doing that? Well, of course they do. Because, again, it's not about that. All they want to do is have somebody else deal with it.
They don't care. They're there to support their local community, and that trumps every name that you want to call them. Let's start with a protest that took place yesterday, the 9th of August, in Nuneaton. Now, based on the live streams that I've watched, thousands of people showed up to this.
You got a lot of people popping off. People in ivory towers making rules for everybody else? Yes.
And why exactly are the fine people of Nuneaton out in protest? Well, I'll tell you, it's because 2 Afghan men living in the local migrant hotel that the government dumped into their community are alleged to have committed a very serious assault against a 12-year-old. Now, I'm not going to go into any more...
No way. No way. How does this keep happening? Oh, my God.
more of the details of that because, well, for the purposes of YouTube, but if you Google it, it's absolutely disgusting. That's all I'll say. So you're probably imagining, well,
it's not rich opinions versus poor. It's more left and right wing, and left live more in cities with set of immigrants. I think that, again, a lot of the people that are pushing this are people that don't have to deal with these people. They don't have to deal with them. They're driving in from out of town.
Yeah, the local community, they're not going to be too pleased by this, but surely nobody is going to come along to counter-protest, right?
Yes.
Enter the Reddit and 4chan crossover masterpiece. A fedora-wearing neckbeard cosplaying as a priest.
12-year-olds? No, I hate fascists. So why do you invite into the...
Who does this remind you of? I'm not going to say who it is. But man, that's crazy, isn't it?
Country.
Wow.
Why do you do it? You don't deserve that collar. Do you think it's acceptable the police tried to cover up? You don't deserve that collar.
Uh-oh.
You don't deserve it. You don't deserve that collar, my friend. I own it. You will not. I'll take it from you, I promise you now, son.
Uh-oh.
What do you stand for? What do you stand for? Absolutely nothing. Racism.
Yep. The illegals are living.
Listen, mate, this is a genuine piece of advice.
Yeah.
The internet and the real world, two very distinct places. And they have two different sets of rules, if you like. Because on the internet, you can condemn and harass concerned parents, and for the most part, nothing bad will happen to you.
Right.
But in the real world, it just doesn't always work like that.
No, it
doesn't. So if you keep it up, then yeah, God help you, because one of these days, you are in fact going to need Jesus. Anyway, it wasn't just Nuneaton, it was Portsmouth as well.
Isn't this religious hatred? No, there's absolutely a religious component to this. So this is, I think, what the problem that a lot of Europeans have. And I will say this in the most plain English way. I'm sure it's going to offend people. I hope it does. So basically, a lot of people are unhappy that the majority, from their perspective, of migrants coming over, or refugees, or asylum seekers, or immigrants are Muslim. They're Islamic. And because of that, they feel like they are losing a degree of their Christian national heritage. Because of this, it's frustrating a lot of British people and a lot of Europeans, because they're saying, well, why are you coming here to our country when there are, dozens of other Muslim countries and you're not going over there? So you're coming to our country. You want us to accommodate your social norms. You want us to accommodate your worldview. You want us to accommodate your religion. But at the same time, why are you even here in the first place? What is this? No, that's wrong. No, it's not. It's not. It's true. It's true. That's, if you think that there's not a religious component to this, why the fuck does everybody bring up the fact that the most popular name is Muhammad? Well, I'm going to tell you why. It's because it's religious. It's religious and ethnic. If you don't think that, you're fucking delusional. There are obviously other reasons that transcend that. But for a lot of people, it is like this. Everybody thinks that we've transcended racism. We've transcended bigotry. No. 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 Nobody thinks that except for an idiot. Not to be antagonistic, how can you cover UK news? Used to say you don't delve into other countries' politics. Well, it's because the UK is probably culturally the most similar to the United States that we have. And the reason why also is that I think that their problems are a metaphor for our problems. That's the reason why. Canada? Oh, I don't know what the fuck's going on over there. Yeah, what is it? No, you're not wrong. It's just a simple oversimplification. People protect their cultures. It doesn't matter where they're from. I know that. I know that. I don't think that British people are like unique in this regard. I think that if like you go to China and a bunch of people come to China and they want to change China to be more like where they came from, well, the Chinese are going to get mad about that. If you go to Russia and you try to change Russia to the country that where you came from, they're going to get mad about that. There's nothing unique. Or Saudi Arabia, you go to Saudi Arabia, a bunch of people come over there and say, oh, why isn't it like that? Like, remember when all those people went to Egypt and they got detained by the Egypt police and they said, well, we have freedom of speech in America. Why don't we have it here? And then the police officer was just like so stunned at the stupidity and the entitlement of this person. They're like, well, just go back to fucking America. This isn't America. This is Egypt. What is this? And so, absolutely. Yeah, why are you here? Yeah, why are you even here then? So assimilating is hard. Well, what my point is that the reason why I think British people are having such a vitriolic reaction to this is that in those other countries, there isn't the same sort of racial and cultural guilt that prevents people from being able to speak out against groups of people that are unwilling and like actively trying to change the existing culture and that will not assimilate into the culture. So the difference is that in China, there isn't the same type of racial guilt that there is in Britain with white people. In, I think, a lot of Arab countries, there isn't the same type of racial guilt. So this is basically a breaking of that conditioning of racial guilt. That's what's happening here. That's the reason why it's happening. Now, you're not going to get this commentary from a lot of other people. The reason why is that it's not the... It's not the politically correct way to say it, but it's true. It's true, and anybody who's paying attention knows it's true. I wish you would cover Canada more. I wish I knew more about it. I just don't know more about it.
And it wasn't just Portsmouth, it was Bournemouth. And it wasn't just Bournemouth, it was Epping.
The women of Epping are leading the charge to shut down the migrant hotels. They are now sitting in
Again, having women being involved in this is a lot bigger than people imagine. A lot of things, and I think that this is what's true with a lot of like liberal media, is that liberal media, and it's partially true, like, you know, a lot of guys, like we just saw that study the other day, that many people nerf their politics and their social views in order to date somebody who is more different than they are politically. And I think this is very, like, it's primarily men that are more conservative that pretend to have liberal values in order to attract liberal women. This is what happens. It's obvious that this is what happens. And so because of that, whenever there are women that are going to these protests and women that are doing Nazi salutes and women that are saying that, you know, let's deport every person that's, you know, a Muslim, if there's women that are doing that, men will follow them and men will feel more comfortable expressing.
Article in UK police crime failures by the Guardian. UK may need a new scheme to detect people obsessed with violence. Reports say exclusive report into prevent. Criticizes handling of Southport attacker and man who killed MP. A new scheme to detect people who are obsessed with violence. I mean, how much further can they go past the fucking dystopian shit they're already doing? I mean, I don't know. You know, if they're already monitoring social media all the time, I don't know how else they could do it. You know, if somebody's just walking around in public, like, how could they make a determination like that?
Those viewpoints, because
it's interesting, though.
Those viewpoints no longer remove them from the sexual marketplace. This is a much bigger factor than people realize, especially for young guys.
Despite
I don't know about the salutes, but yeah. No, you do know about the salutes. You know that I'm right. You know that I'm right about this. I never said that I approve of Nazi salutes. I don't. I said that it's an example. I gave it as an example. It's a valid example.
Orders. This is astonishing.
And it wasn't just Epping, it was Richmond. And it was also Solihull.
I would do horrible things to another human for female affirmation? Really? Surely that's never happened before in history. Surely there haven't been wars started over women. Yeah, I think you might be the first person in history who's ever done that. Yeah. Uh-oh.
And it was also Newcastle.
Jesus, look at this.
And Norwich.
Wow.
And Altrincham. I think you get the point, right? I can't even talk about all of the protests because there are so many going on. And so when I see people saying, oh, that crowd looks a little bit small, you have to put it into the context of knowing that on some days there are 20 or 25 protests going on. It's huge. It is absolutely massive. And yet, how much have you heard about this on the mainstream media? How much do you think the BBC covered this? Yeah, not at all. In fact,
they don't want to. They don't want to cover it because they're pushing the other agenda. That's the reason why. Yeah, that's it. It's crazy how many people don't actually listen to everything you say. They catch like 3 words and assume something else. The reason why, for a lot of people, is that there's a lot of people watch the show. A lot of people watch the show. I'm very lucky. And because a lot of people watch the show, many people watch that are not like Native American or Native English speakers, American speakers. A lot of times people just don't know what I'm saying because they don't speak English, right? They don't get it. And so like that's really another reason. Is that huge, vocal minority? Yeah, a lot of people like literally just don't know the way the words come together. I mean, that's it. They don't speak American. Yeah, they might speak English, but they're not speaking American. But yeah, of course you have people that are like, you know, they hear one trigger word and then they just go off on a tangent. You're right about that. It's like a fucking Zoolander.
The news station that would touch this story is GB News. And they even spoke about how little attention it's getting from the likes of the BBC and Sky.
No, and I think this is going to be a big problem. I think that if these people ever get power, like the right-wing people ever get power, if I worked at the BBC, I would want to leave the country. I would. If I was a noteworthy figure at the BBC, I would be terrified for my life. Do you really think that if these far-right people get into power, well, they're going to kill him. That's what's going to happen. They're going to kill him or put him in jail. Now, how do I know that? Because that's what's happened every single other time in history. That's it.
4 or 5 days of...
It's a bit too far. Oh, man. My dad remembers the days that they used to bring families out to watch lynchings. We still have people alive now. Like, I mean, this is like, and yeah, there's this false sense of, oh, we're past that. No, we're not. We never were. What did you just say? He grew up in Florida.
Tests outside asylum hotels. After that clearly being the top issue of the day, I went to the BBC News app, and the #1 story was "It's quite windy, guys," and the #2 story was about Greg Wallace. And you know, let's plug in a bit more.
Let's ignore the elephant in the room.
Frankly, I think it's really shameful that the mainstream media aren't covering these protests, but this isn't their only sin, right? The story I told you earlier about Nuneaton, a BBC headline that would look something like, 2 men from Nuneaton charged with serious assault on young girl. And it's like, stop treating us like we're idiots, okay? These guys probably arrived in the country 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 months ago. They've been put into a migrant hotel, and you're trying to convince me that they're from Nuneaton. Even though they spent their...
Exactly. It's the same as that one clown from Maryland, that Kilmar guy that was an MS-13 member. He's got tattoos. He's got fucking pulled over, and he's got a car full of people in it, and every person has the same home address as him. And it's like, oh, this guy's actually a Maryland man. No, he's not. He's an illegal fucking alien from El Salvador. He's a gang member. It's crazy. And so the amount of, and this is the reason why I think people are going to be so violent towards the press. This is, I think, the next step, is that as soon as they're able to take control over it, then they're going to, I think, prosecute. And I think there's going to be a lot of vigilante. This is what I think will happen. I think that if these people take over, they won't do it systematically, but they just simply won't protect them. They'll effectively allow these people to be killed. I don't think they're going to do it themselves. They're just going to ignore it happening. We get a Batman. Well, that's what I'm saying, right? That's where I think things are going to go. Did Maryland guy ever come back to the U.S.? I have no idea, actually. I don't know where things are. Like South Africa? Yeah, sure. I don't think it'll get that far. It's not medieval times. Okay. Well, you can clip what I'm saying. Yep, clip what I'm saying.
Entire lives in Afghanistan, you want me to think that they're from Nuneaton?
Yes.
Stop it, right? It's just ridiculous. It makes you look stupid, and it's why you are fading into irrelevance.
Yes.
And it's not just me saying that they're fading into irrelevance. It really is happening.
Another I listened to 3 words chatter. Yes.
They are going to Ofcom, the BBC are, and begging them to force YouTube to push the BBC in their algorithm harder. And it's like,
yep,
that's not how this works.
Fewer than half of 16 to 24-year-olds tuned into broadcast TV in an average week last year. This is what they're afraid of. They're afraid of the fact that young kids, like Destiny's son, they're like, well, what do you believe in? Well, I'm a Nazi. Uh-oh. What? Oh, no. How did this happen? Right, that's it. Too late? Yeah. And so they're worried. And what they're concerned about is that kids that are brought up, and this is the same reason why a lot of religions indoctrinate children early, almost every sort of cultural apparatus begins at childhood. And the indoctrination into that cultural apparatus begins in childhood. Whether it's a religion, whether it's a political ideology, whether it is a pattern of behavior, it's all the same. So because mainstream media is losing that, they're losing that control, these kids are growing up on watching Nick Fuentes. They're growing up watching Andrew Tate. And guess what? That paints a very different picture than the BBC does.
Okay? The YouTube algorithm just shows people what it thinks that they want to see. That's all that happens. So if people don't want to see the stories that you're covering about how windy it is or climate change or whatever it might be, whatever topic you seem to be covering today, then maybe that's a message to you to start covering the issues that people really are interested in.
And this guy's actually bringing up a good point. He's doing this in good faith, and I think that he knows that they're doing it on purpose. But I think it's a good point. Yeah, and the BBC can fix this whenever they choose to. All they need to do is simply change the way they report on issues, but they don't want to do that. And so they don't want to compete in a free market of ideas. They want to be the market of ideas.
If you did a 1-hour segment on the protests from this weekend, I guarantee you it would get millions of views, but you don't want to do that, do you? Because you have a political agenda. So yeah, you can't just go to Ofcom and say, oh, YouTube are pushing people like British Land Air harder than they're pushing us. Whatever, get over it, okay?
Yep.
You can either imitate us and start talking honestly about the issues that we're talking about, or you can just fade into irrelevance. And frankly, I don't care which you choose.
They should fade into irrelevance. Having massive international media conglomerate corporations is something that's actively against the best interests of the public. These companies, again, these are publicly held companies. Publicly held companies have no obligation to the truth. BBC, I understand, is not, but like it's the same general idea. They have no obligation to the truth. They have an obligation to shareholders. Fox News is the same. CNN is the same. Like whatever, Sky News. I don't know about Sky News. I'm not sure. But all of these different places, news is secondary to profit. The focus is profit. News is secondary. That's it. The purpose is to make
Speaking of
money.
media,
Yes.
have you noticed that the lefties, the counter-protesters, never want to talk to a camera?
And this is a problem we've had before as well.
Somebody says, careful, you don't start advocating for state-run media. State-run media, why would you think I'm advocating for state-run media when the biggest offender here is the BBC, which is a state-run media as far as I know, or state-funded? Of course I'm not advocating for state-run media.
We're putting their signs in front of our camera. It's a free press in this country. We just want to speak to people where we can. This man trying to do the same. But there we go. I mean, all we can do is our jobs, Michelle. All we can do is our jobs. This chap very agitated. But what he hasn't got, unfortunately, is a voice. He's failing to come forward and speak to us.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do that. He just wants to agitate next to me. Sir, why are you protesting today? Are you from Aldershot?
No comment.
No comment. It's like it's a police interview. But there we go, Michelle. We've done what we can, trying to speak to people gathering here. They don't want to engage with us. We might go back on the other side and see if we can get some more interviews
they've got
later.
an old one there.
We'll join you later in the program.
They don't know. Well, the reason why they don't know is that they understand. This is the issue: is that all of the arguments and all of the control that they had is built around calling somebody a racist, and then the person having to capitulate and prove that they're not a racist. That has stopped working. And because it's stopped working, now you're seeing a lot more people that they don't really have, like there's not really, there's nothing underneath that. Yeah, we don't care anymore. Yeah, people don't care anymore. Now, if you call people a racist, they'll say, yeah.
I find this quite bizarre because if you're passionate about something, so passionate that you've turned up to a protest and you see yourself as a reasoned, logical person, then wouldn't you want to go onto a camera and speak to the media and try to explain to people using reason and logic why your position is correct and bring them over to your way of thinking? And so the fact that you are reticent to do that tells me something. It tells me that you see yourself as either not rational, not logical, or that everything you're doing is based on emotion, or perhaps the £40 that the Socialist Workers' Party put in your pocket.
Yeah.
Maybe you want £80 from the Socialist Workers' Party if you're going to have to speak to the media, because that's a little bit more taxing.
Do you want to be heard?
Look,
but
I don't
seen?
know.
Yeah.
It's very, very strange. But if these guys want to just stay in their echo chamber and preach to the converted, then again, I don't really care. So be it. If that's what you want to do, fine. It just means
I think that's what's happening. And this is the reason why they're trying to censor the internet, is that they realize that the internet is the reason why people have, and I apologize for this, again, kind of cringe metaphor, but it's the reason why people have broken out of the Matrix, is that now they don't have a monopolistic control over discourse. They can't control who is and isn't able to speak. It's now a free market. And that's what the internet has done, is they've created a free marketplace of ideas. The internet has created a free marketplace of ideas. And I think that that's why people were so against Elon Musk buying Twitter, is because Elon Musk buying Twitter created a free marketplace of ideas. Somebody like Hassan can be on Twitter, and somebody like Nick Fuentes can be on Twitter. Welcome to the show. Anybody can be there. Anybody can express their viewpoint. And the problem, though, is that a lot of these people know that, and I think in a lot of cases, these people know that their viewpoints really can't stand up to scrutiny or criticism. And they're afraid of that. Why you keep mentioning Nick? Well, I think Nick has been growing a lot, and he's been very popular with young people. And I think that the majority of people, like, it's undeniable that Nick Fuentes has been a very big lightning rod that has attracted and energized a lot of young people towards very conservative ideals. And to deny that is, I think, unfair. I think it's just simply, well, it's not true. That's really what it comes down to. It's not true. And so the reason why I mention him is because I think that among young people, I feel like he's probably one of the more influential voices. And I think that the fact of that, and also this is also despite him getting deplatformed, getting kicked off social media, being debanked, you know, all this stuff that's happened. Nick is modern fascism. It doesn't matter. Like you're missing the point. Nick saying these things represents a tremendous amount of people. Whether you agree with it or not is not relevant. The fact that a lot of people agree with it is all that matters. Because if enough people get together, they can do anything that they want. And so that's it. And so retard chatter, yeah. You're just solidifying the decision. Yeah, you're so right, man. I'm 21 and Nick's everywhere around people my age. Yes, of course. I know that this is happening. It's obvious that it's happening. The only people that it's not obvious to are people who are lying to themselves. And I think that there's guys like, I mean, I don't really have the same audience. Like for me, like my audience is definitely older guys, right? Like I would say like 20s to 30s to 40s. But like, I think especially in terms of communicating with teenagers and communicating with the lower 20s, I think Nick resonates with a tremendous amount of young men. And I think it's primarily young men. It's women too, but primarily men. Do you think that if he hadn't got banned off his platforms earlier, he'd be as popular as it is now? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But yeah, anyway, so that's basically it. So that's the reason why I mention it. I mention it because it's the same as Andrew Tate or Jordan Peterson or any other like Tucker Carlson. These fucking Charlie Kirk. These people, or Hassan on the opposite side, right? Like, whether you agree with them or not, that doesn't change their influence.
Ordinary people are going to win a hell of a lot faster.
Here's Morgan. Yeah.
Okay. Let me leave you with one final thought, because I know this is actually a kind of contentious topic, and it's about peaceful protests and why I think peaceful protests are the right way forwards.
They have to
Let me make the moderate assumption that you want as many people to show up at these protests.
People will peacefully protest until they can get enough people into the government, and then they will make the government violent for them. That's the way you do it. That's what Trump did. Is that, you know, you basically, you win the election and then you make the government do what you want. So violence will happen. It just shouldn't happen from vigilantes.
As possible. Well, more people are going to show up at a protest that they think is likely to be peaceful than one that they think is likely to turn into a riot. And so by ensuring that you have a consistent track record...
January 6th was peaceful? Yeah, and that didn't work out, did it? It's a great example of what I'm saying.
Peaceful protests, more and more people will start to gather. It will snowball. And the people that will now decide that they're going to turn out will no longer just be 25-year-old aggrieved young men. You'll start to see a lot more women and a lot more elderly people coming.
Oh, he's saying it. He's saying it. See, now he's picking up. Everybody's picking this shit up. Yep.
And that is exactly the kind of optics that the BBC and the Sky News hate. Because they don't want to put a story out about how...
That's right. Yes, they want to compartmentalize it into being lonely incels that can't get girlfriends are now complaining and they want fascism. That's what they want to. That's what they want to do.
You know, 500 women from Epping came out dressed in pink to a protest against the local migrant hotel because they're really worried about their children. They want to put out a story about how 15... 20-year-old guys wearing balaclavas smashed up a bunch of police vans. So again, I think it's really, really important to keep these peaceful protests going, and you'll start to see the effect snowball. More and more people will have the confidence to come out and join you. They'll bring their families.
He's completely right about everything that he's saying here, by the way. And if you look at the majority of like social change, like for example, like Martin Luther King, I think this is a great example of this. Martin Luther King led forward civil rights. And yeah, you had other figures like Malcolm X that were more, you know, congruent with violence. Absolutely. But there's a reason why every fucking city has a Martin Luther King Boulevard and not every city has a Malcolm X Street. Martin Luther King really was the one who carried it into the end zone. He was the one that really made it happen. But what happened after that is that the government, you know, whether it be LBJ or after that, took that, they took that idea and then they enforced it with the government. They forced desegregation of schools. And you want to know how they did it? With police officers. So it's not that violence isn't an option. It's that violence should not be the option that civilians choose. Civilians should look at petitioning the government to use violence to achieve the ends that they want. Like the National Guard. Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, actually use the military. I don't remember the military. I haven't really thought about this in a long time. But like either way, it was the government doing it.
They'll bring their friends, and that's a really powerful thing. You know, just seeing a sea of pink,
really gets people on your
you know,
side.
thousands of women who are really, really unhappy with the situation. That's really powerful, and they can't escape from that forever. I'll leave it there. Please do remember why we're doing this, okay? There are literally our own homeless people are dying sometimes in the streets, like the pallbearer for Princess Diana, a military veteran, died of hypothermia in the streets on this country. And yet if you arrive across the channel...
Yeah, exactly. Like, how can you justify that when you have migrants living in hotels? You can't.
From South Sudan will put a roof over your head within 24 hours. It's completely insane, completely broken system. It does not favor the citizens of this country, and it has to end.
Somebody says if we use the military, how to avoid another Kent State massacre? In my opinion, I think that if somebody throws a rock or if somebody uses any form of deadly force against an officer, I think the officer should be completely justified to shoot them. Period. We should not live in a society where violence is accepted in any capacity at all. Those are human beings. Just because you disagree with somebody doesn't give you the right to throw a brick at them. If you throw a brick at somebody, I think they have every right to shoot you. Headshot or foot?
Oh, fuck.
I don't care.
Yeah, headshot.
Not my problem at all.
Yeah, headshot.
It's their problem.
Definitely headshot.
They shouldn't be throwing rocks. Yeah, you at least expect a brick back. Well, no. I mean, like throwing rocks in paradise, center mass. Yeah. I mean, either way, yeah. I mean, and by the way, this is what happens. The protesters are human beings too. Yes, but they forfeited their right to safety the moment they endangered somebody else. They were the ones, see, everything was fine until they came in there and they decided to initiate violence. So they're the ones that are wrong because they're the ones that are initiating violence. The police aren't wrong. Of course not. They're responding to it. And you're talking like that because of your stream. I'll throw a stone first if someone starts to do weird shit on the streets where my kid plays. I don't think you're going to do that. I mean, realistically, it's not going to happen. Civil war in Serbia? Oh, really?
So keep all of that in mind.
The law doesn't work like that, though? Actually, I think it does. I think if somebody tries to throw a brick at you in your house and you shoot them with a gun, at least in Texas, you're not going to jail. No. You're fine. And also in Florida, that's literally what they said. In Florida, they just straight up said, hey, listen, if you throw bricks at us, we're going to contact your family for where they can collect your remains. And guess what happened? No bricks. How does that happen?
Do not stop. Keep up the pressure. We have to turn this around for our country one way or another. Please do leave a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Go and watch my last video if you haven't, by the way. The Brits are angry one. Why Brits are angry. It's probably the most important video I've made. It's kind of tailored towards foreign audiences, especially Americans, because I noticed I got quite a few new American subscribers. So I just wanted to explain a bit of the backstory of why Britain is so frustrated.
Look at that.
And if you haven't seen that, I would appreciate you going and watching it. I've had some great comments and some great feedback from that video. Anyway, I'll see you in a future video. Peace out.
Yep, there it
If
is.
you were like
No, I
most
totally agree.
American-
I mean, like, maybe it's an age thing. Shooting a kid for throwing a brick will piss off people, women particularly. I don't care.
It feels like...
I don't give a shit. I don't think anybody else should either. You shouldn't let people emotionally blackmail you into allowing yourself to be a target dummy. The fact is that if a person wants to initiate violence and they want to attack you, then you should have every right to defend yourself. I think that's the parents. The parents really should be thinking about, why are their kids out there throwing bricks? Kids shouldn't be shot with live rounds? Of course they should. Of course. If a kid is posing a deadly threat to a police officer, the police officer absolutely should use deadly rounds. It's not even a question. Duh. Like, what? It's easy for you to say that whenever it's not your life on the line. But if this is your family member, or this is your friend, or this is you, you'd want to be able to defend yourself.
You know the guy I reacted to?
You're making an emotional argument that makes no logical...
Peace out. Yeah. Foreign audiences, especially Americans, because I noticed I got quite a few new American subscribers.
Let's see. British Landour. This guy. Right there. That's who it is. British Landour. 95k subs.
So I just wanted to explain.
I totally agree. I mean, like, maybe it's an age thing. Shooting a kid for throwing a brick will piss off people, women particularly. I don't care.
It feels like...
I don't give a shit. I don't think anybody else should either. You shouldn't let people emotionally blackmail you into allowing yourself to be a target dummy. The fact is that if a person wants to initiate violence and they want to attack you, then you should have every right to defend yourself. I think that's the parents. The parents really should be thinking about, why are their kids out there throwing bricks? Kids shouldn't be shot with live rounds? Of course they should. Of course.
Oh, God.
If a kid is posing a deadly threat to a police officer, the police officer absolutely should use deadly rounds. It's not even a question. Duh. Like, what? It's easy for you to say that whenever it's not your life on the line. But if this is your family member, or this is your friend, or this is you, you'd want to be able to defend yourself. You're making an emotional argument that makes no logical sense. No. Nope. Why are we tolerant of degenerate behavior? I don't know. Oh, I do know. It's emotional blackmail. That's the reason why. It's an unequal balance of power, weapons versus no weapons. Well, I mean, I'd say a brick or something like that, or a gun, is definitely a weapon. I support this guy. I think he's great. And I'm really glad to see more people talking about this. And things are obviously, things are pretty much getting more and more extreme over time. And I think that political revolution coming to Britain, oh boy. This is a big one. Wow. What?
Special
Let me see. What is this? On September 13th, I will ask something of the British public, British patriots, that I would never ask anything of if you're willing to lead the charge. If certain individuals can ask for our throats to be slit with zero accountability or repercussions, that allows us free rein to defend ourselves in a manner that will rattle foreign hostiles and our government to their very core. Choose a side, because this is ultimately what it's come down to. See you on the 13th and prepare your shields. Oh boy. Wow. Should have been September 11th? No, absolutely not. And so, yeah, there it is. And yeah, holy fuck. And let's go. I'll look at this later on. But yeah, bro's creating the Minutemen. Yeah, I guess so, right? Enough is enough. They walk right into this one. I guess so. I mean, I don't know exactly where this is going to go, but yeah, I mean, there's a good chance you could get a revolution happening. I mean, the UK is turning into a shithole. I mean, I think that, again, and how do I know this, is because the US has been the same, has been the same victim of the same problems. That's it. And check the comments. So I don't know what the comments are at all. Trump changed everything. I think Trump getting elected was actually a huge turning
IRL
point.
or on
I think
the internet?
it was. And the reason why is that I think it showed a lot of people that the viewpoints and the values that these different people have are actually very popular. They are extremely popular, and they're held by a large percentage of people. And as soon as people realize that, the power of consensus is so strong that it brings a lot of, I think, kind of middle of the road people over to your side.
I think it's a little bit different than just like immature online gossip slop. At what point does it turn into like a real crime? I think this is the point where it has turned into a real crime. They're trying to get you banned for violent threats again. What violent threat did I make this time? Ugh. What happened now? Okay, don't say what is it? God damn it, man. Okay, calm down. I want to know what it is. Now I want to know what it is. Is it ban that chatter? They're saying you called H a valid
Do they stream politics though, or are they like a video game streamer?
military target? I mean, if someone is participating in a raid in the West Bank, if someone of the Israeli occupying force is participating in a raid in the West Bank, in the process of participating in that raid, just in the process of participating in that raid, yeah, they are a valid military target. This is just the international law. It's not me that is threatening anybody. It's, take it up with the United Nations. It's also something that supposedly Ethan Klein himself believes. So I'm confused.
Settlers in the West Bank are religious zealots. They're monsters. They're genocidal. I've even said the West Bank settlers are valid military targets. When you talk about like colonial settlers and stuff, like that's what's actually happening in the West Bank right now.
Yeah.
And these people are more or less valid military targets, in my opinion. But it's not rocket science.
That bug catches a lot of people. Like politics just becomes tiring, and then they either just do games or drama. Try to go ocean will, yeah. Do you know Ranger and Rogue? Ranger and Rogue used to do a lot of politics, but I have not seen him do any politics lately. Anoke used to do a ton of politics, and then he kind of, when he is streaming, it's like mostly games. I think now he'll probably, he'll set up a time and a place for certain conversations, but for the most part, if he's streaming, it's usually a game. But people just get fucking sick of it. And I don't blame them. You know him? Yeah. I don't know him personally or anything. I may have spoken to him like once or twice, but I remember he used to do a lot of politics. Now I don't ever hear him talk about politics at all.
The IDF. You said the IDF is maybe not a terror organization, but the IDF is a terror organization.
I didn't say that. Wrong.
Through and through.
Wrong. Again, a liar.
Okay, so you think the IDF is a terror organization?
I said yes.
So if I started saying shit like Hassan is Hamas propagandist and therefore a legit military target, which, by the way, he does say that. What?
Some fresh criticism for Hassan, who is an outright supporter of terrorism. Quite literally. He is a champion for terrorism and a supporter of terrorism. And if you don't believe me, watch the video.
He says that every day, which I do not believe. Everyone is going to be okay with that. This is the fourth time a leftist Twitch streamer has explicitly called for me or Hila's death. Nobody has been reprehended for these death threats by Twitch, not once. I've never called for a death threat against Ethan Klein or Hila Klein. That is insane.
I don't know about that one, bud. I think we've heard pretty much to the contrary on that one, like maybe 20 minutes ago.
And he knows that that's bull. He's just active.
He's talking to people residing in Israel, chat roulette. At least he used to do a character where he made up people. He sent me a clip. He sent me a pretty disturbing clip of one of his chat roulette adventures, and yeah. Yeah.
He's just actively trying to victimize himself. For comparison, on YouTube, Bad Empanada played an FPS game where he played Hamas and murder Israelis. He simulated murdering Hila in a game, resulting in a week-long suspension. I don't even think that happened. It's not something that I believe. It's complete and utter nonsense. You're literally getting drama farmed. No one cares about these losers. Stop giving them time. I mean, if they're trying to actively try to get me banned, I think it's important to address that.
Trying to get yourself banned, dude.
Completely made up. It's utterly delusional. It's ironically something that Ethan himself has said he believes. You were saying that if the journalist had a picture with Sinmar was a military target, then anyone
vote or support that man.
Absolutely not.
You can't just say shit and then get away with saying it. I'm going to debunk you, and then you're going to respond to it. Now, if you can't handle the fact that I was able to prove you wrong, and that's why you're trying to move on, well, then just be honest about it. Either concede or fucking respond.
Well, that's one way to treat someone who disagrees with you in a debate. For those of you who don't know, this is Dean Withers, who is a part of that Zoomer politics group with that kid Parker who is in all the Jubilee episodes, and Harry Sisson, who said, "I'm a straight 22-year-old. I can assure you that no one believes that.
Any man who must say, I am the king, is no true king.
Anyway, Dean is 20 years old, and him and his little friend group are popular on TikTok, but today we're going to talk about his YouTube channel because that's a lot easier to deal with in an editing program. Dean is a debate bro, which is an entire meta and type of content creator that's annoyed me a lot over the past 10 years, because most of these people seem to be creators who are a lot more concerned with farming a viral clip where they got an epic own for their audience, rather than to actually try to understand the viewpoint of the person who disagrees with them. Dean is a perfect example of this type of influencer, as it is immediately obvious when you watch him that he will do anything to make his opponent look like a complete piece of shit. Evidence of that is in a video called, "These MAGA Fanatics Are Out of Control."
What's up, Crisco? Do you support Trump?
Yeah, I supported his ability to remove man for women sports. I'm a girl dad, and so my daughters both compete on a high level. And I would never want them to have to compete against a male because we are naturally stronger.
I don't know how the right has successfully convinced you to place 12 trans women over the 66 million American women and girls that have lost their human rights / access to abortion, or the fact that more women have accused Donald Trump of raping them than there is trans women competing in the NCAA. I just think that there's much larger concerns here.
What does that have to do with what the caller was talking about? Where the hell did abortion come from? The caller said his biggest reason for why he voted for Trump is because Trump is against trans women in sports, and Dean immediately shifts to whatever he wants to talk about to make the caller look stupid. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that Dean didn't even wait 10 seconds to do this. This is literally the first thing that happens in the video. It's like the guy says, "Yeah, I love cooking and I think I have a great pancake recipe." And Dean responds, "Did you know that Hitler liked pancakes?" So I guess we're going to talk about whatever Dean wants to talk about now.
So you just really care about what you deem as women's rights, correct?
You just care about my daughters. That's it.
And you would really care about keeping a man out of your underage daughter's dressing room, for instance?
I don't see a reason why he would be in there with my daughter.
Okay. Imagine that there's a shitty man, right? Not a trans woman, a cis man that walked into the changing room of your daughter. She's 17. She's an underage girl. She's naked, undressed.
I'm not really sure why he got onto the topic of locker rooms here, much less the idea of a normal heterosexual male entering a woman's locker room. It kind of seems like he's being aggressive here because he very specifically doesn't want the caller to mention stuff like Loudoun County before he can frame the transgender locker room issue in the way that he wants. And certainly Dean would want to make sure that he took control over the conversation before the caller brings up that Riley Gaines interview, where she talks about how a biological male was not only allowed to unfairly compete against her, but was also allowed to use the women's changing room.
I turn around, there's a 6'4", 22-year-old male dropping his clothes and is fully intact with an exposing male genitalia. So let me be clear.
Not Crip Suzette,
We
but
were
I
not
would love to.
forewarned
I've seen it being made.
we would
I
be
want to
sharing
try
this
it.
changing space.
I might
No
even
one
make it
told
one
us.
day.
Believe it or not, it gets worse. After this happened, Riley talked to one of the officials about the new locker room rules and about how a biological male was allowed to watch the women change.
I went up to him and I said, I understand the guidelines for the meet, which was, at the time, it was only 12 months of hormone suppression. I said, I know that, but what are the guidelines for the locker room? And word for word, this is what he says. Oh, we actually got around this by making the locker rooms unisex. So I'm like, okay, unisex. Okay, so this means that any man could have walked into our locker room. Any man, not just a self-identifying woman.
A fan seeking opportunity?
And no one told us?
This whole event also included the women who went to the school of the male swimmer being told their lives would be ruined if they spoke out against him, and they had to go to re-education courses so they could think more inclusively. This was quite an infuriating interview to watch. But anyway, let's see where Dean is going with the locker room situation. Why would he bring that up? It seems like a great way to lose a debate.
Like, imagine that there's a shitty man that walked into the changing room of your daughter. She's 17. She's an underage girl. She's naked, undressed. What do you think should happen to that man?
If he walks in, walking in for what exactly? Did he walk in on accident?
To perv on them while they were naked, and he did so intentionally.
He gets the same treatment as anyone else.
What should happen to him?
If he tried something, he should be locked up.
He should be locked up. If an older man did this, boasted about it, said he got away with it, never got jailed, then ran for president, would you ever vote or support that man?
Absolutely not.
Don't be a hypocrite,
He should be jailed. It doesn't matter who it is, bro.
Even if it was Trump.
Prove your point.
Even if it was Trump.
Okay, that's where he's going with this. He's trying to escape the very valid concern from parents of allowing boys into girls' bathrooms.
There's a great place. I don't know where you're at, but when I lived in New York, there's a great place called Lady M. They have locations all over the country, but they have a bunch of them in New York, and they just make crepe cakes, and they're awesome. They're really, really, really good. They do like a chestnut one. They do a classic millefeuille, however you pronounce it, like a vanilla whipped cream kind of one. They do a chocolate one. They do a matcha one, a pecan one. It's really good. Yeah, Lady M. There's one in Fulton Center where it's in what is it, the Oculus, that fucking underground shopping mall that they built under Ground Zero. There's a Lady M in there. There's also there's Lady M's all over the city basically. Milfoil. No, it's pronounced something. It's like MILLEF, and then the second word is like FUILLE, I think. Millefeuille, something like that. But it's basically like a vanilla whipped cream kind of one. But yeah, Lady M, check it out. It's really good.
Rooms and locker rooms, and it's not just at school, but also places like Disneyland. So he's escaping this by shifting the conversation to a story about Trump, which is a tactic straight out of a book called Rules for Radicals, a book that Dean has almost certainly read. It's the handbook for people like him. And to put it simply, it's a book that teaches bad faith influencing tactics and dark triad behavior for the sole purpose of winning. Towards the end, there's a chapter on tactics where the author describes different rules to follow to be effective in convincing people of radical political change. Rule number 2, never go outside the experiences of your people. This one's not that bad because it's actually a rule that applies generally. You should always try to speak to the experiences that people you're talking to can relate to. This is just a basic communication skill, but it's all set up for the next tactic, which is Rule 3, that says that you should, wherever possible, go outside of the experience of the enemy. This rule is great because any one person can't know everything, so as a dishonest person, you can just bring up some random Snapple fact to your opponent, and if they don't know it, the audience will perceive them as stupid. You might even convince your opponent that they're stupid for not knowing the random thing that you brought up. It's quite an effective tactic in a live debate, especially against people who are unaware of it. So that's the reason that Dean has brought this story up about Trump in a locker room, instead of sticking to the topic about trans women in sports. Now, in the next part, Dean is going to play a clip of Trump talking about locker rooms, but the way he does it is really confusing and abrupt. For context, he plays a 2005 clip of Donald Trump talking to Howard Stern about beauty pageants, and to make it less confusing, I'm going to use a different cut of this moment, but I will play the exact words that Dean plays, and then cut back to him talking and abusing the caller.
Oh, I see.
You tend to think about the conflict a little bit later on.
The question is, how can it not be construed?
No, I mean, some of these foreign girls, Mr. Trump, in my country, we say hello with vagina. And
well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
like
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
So the non-hypocritical, rational response would be at this point to say that you're no longer a Trump supporter, because immediately before I rolled that tape, you said that you would never support anybody that did this. You'd never vote for them to be the president, even if it was Trump. I'm putting my money on you just being a hypocrite. And are you no longer MAGA?
All right, so probably the most frustrating part of listening to Dean is that you have to fact check literally everything he says because he's always leaving out important context or just straight up lying. Though before we get into that, I will note that Dean caters to a younger demographic, so they likely don't understand the environment of the Howard Stern show because he is before their time. The show is supposed to be offensive, so Trump may be playing it up for the listeners. In fact, there is still an episode of the Stern show with Trump on YouTube, and you can see Howard pushing Trump to be edgy. Stern does that every show. The whole point is to have dirty humor, so stories or storytelling may be embellished. That being said, there is so much context missing here. Dean says that Trump was creeping on minors, but there's no indication of that from this clip. Trump owned a pageant for adults and a pageant for teens, and I'm guessing that Trump is talking about the pageant for adults because no one outside of maybe Andrew Tate would be stupid enough to voluntarily admit to having an inappropriate relationship with a minor while being interviewed. Dean is also assuming that Trump didn't have consent from the adult women to enter the locker room. I think everyone here can picture in their head a situation where a bunch of young adult women would be perfectly fine with a billionaire being in their presence, dressed or not. But let's take a closer look. Trump owned Miss Universe, Miss USA, and Miss Teen USA. This allegation from Dean happened at a Miss Teen USA event in 1997, so basically 30 years ago, and the articles I found on it were 20 years after the event, so I'm sure everyone's memory is crystal clear. To sum it all up, these are just stories from people who were there, and nobody has any concrete evidence that Trump did anything illegal. This article here says that the girls' chaperones for the pageant told them to get dressed before Trump entered, and states that the chaperones would have never allowed anything inappropriate to have happened. Even in this BuzzFeed article that's far more against Trump, none of the witness testimonies said they were actually undressed around him. They merely said they were rushed to get dressed when they were told he was visiting. So this is not Trump creeping on 17-year-olds like Dean said. I mean, you could argue that maybe there's a more appropriate place for Trump to meet the contestants, but considering that this is a beauty pageant, I can imagine that a significant amount of the time that the girls aren't on stage is spent in the dressing room perfecting their outfit or their makeup. I don't know that much about pageants, but I can imagine that this area, a lot of the time, might be the most convenient place for a busy person to quickly meet everybody, and provided that they were all dressed, other adults were there, and proper boundaries were maintained, I don't see this as a problem. As for the adult pageants, we have a testimony from former Miss Arizona, Tasha Dixon. Let's hear what she has to say.
Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked changing into our bikinis.
Dixon was 18 at the time and says watching Trump storm into a dressing room was shocking.
To have the owner come waltzing in when we're naked or half naked in a very physically vulnerable position, and then to have the pressure of the the people that work for him telling us to go fawn all over him, go walk up to him, talk to him, get his attention. Who do you complain to? He owns the pageant.
Notice how they said 18. So at the very least, that's another strike against Dean for the pedo allegations. I mean, based on Dean's extreme lack of evidence here, that allegation kind of sounds like defamation.
They all got sued by Trump, and Trump won all those lawsuits. CBS slandered Trump. They called him a rapist, and he sued them for defamation, and he won.
As for what Tasha said, it sounds inappropriate for Trump to enter a locker room while women are changing. However, Trump has denied these allegations, so now it's he said, she said, and considering that this happened 15 years prior to that interview, and there seems to be no proof outside of taking someone's word for it, and no other witnesses made their names public to corroborate Tasha's story, I'm going to say that Trump is innocent until proven guilty. False allegations happen a lot with rich people and public figures, and the reason we have legal standards is to prevent abusers from witch hunting everyone they don't like. Tasha claims that her allegations weren't politically motivated, but I find that very hard to believe because she appears to have made them a month before the 2016 election, so I don't think she's being honest about that. Now, to go on a slight tangent because it's relevant, I know that Trump is taking shit right now from MAGA because he went on Truth Social and said the Epstein files were fake, which no one believes. I know everyone's mad about that, and I'm not happy about it either, and like everyone else, I hope they do get released. Though more importantly, this video is not really about Trump, it's about Dean, And Dean just so happens to be talking about Trump here because he talks about Trump in like every video. I mean, this guy uses MAGA in his titles more than people used to use the word woke before Fox News anchors made that term cringe.
I think woke is dead.
So understand that anything I say here is not an endorsement of Republicans not keeping their promise to release the list. It's to talk about Dean's constant use of bad faith tactics, and since Trump is basically the only thing that Dean seems to talk about, we're going to talk about Trump. Anyway, as the debate goes on, instead of actually engaging with the ideas of his opposition about trans women in sports, Dean continues to use this video to do anything he can to attack Trump in any way.
Is there anything that Trump could do, any red line, that would make you regret your vote? I want an answer to my question.
I'm trying to tell you.
Yes or no? Is there anything that Donald Trump could do that would make you regret your vote? What if he committed a genocide on the other side of the world? He bombed and killed 1 million people. Would you still support him?
They should retaliate.
But would you regret your
They should
vote if
retaliate.
tomorrow he dropped a bomb and killed 1 million people in Asia?
Yeah, but Trump hasn't done that, and also, this is completely irrelevant to the initial question. But I mean, if we're going to propose that as a hypothetical, then I don't think that's a path you want to go down as an Obama supporter.
Obama says that he wants to run for president in 2028. Will you be voting for him?
Okay, well, Obama hasn't said that. He literally can't. It'd be unconstitutional, but obviously I would, yeah.
I'm guessing Dean didn't know this because he got into politics like 5 minutes ago, but Obama was infamous for promising to end the Iraq war that Bush started, followed by taking his sweet-ass time to do that. I hate President Bush too, by the way. So Obama continued that war and ordered tons of drone strikes that had a really bad habit of killing civilians. And then he goes and jokes about it in a speech.
The Jonas brothers are here. Sasha and Malia are huge fans, but boys don't get any ideas. I have 2 words for you. Predator drones. You will never see it coming. You think I'm joking?
I love how these people are like, you must disavow your candidate or you're an evil hypocrite, followed by not really addressing stuff their favorite person does or even just full on sweeping under the rug. They're politicians, guys. They all do bad stuff. I think the only criticism that I heard Dean give Obama is that he wasn't far enough on the left. Meanwhile, if Trump finds a quarter on the street and doesn't instantly donate it to charity, well then he's basically the devil. The debate continues with the caller talking about how he only wants a politician who addresses his personal concerns.
I don't care about y'all, you, or anybody else. I care about mine, my circle, and my household. If he does something to somebody else,
I have a question.
Need to go handle him.
I have a question.
I will handle him.
I have a question. If Donald Trump re-legalized slavery in America, and it didn't personally impact you or your family, or anybody that you personally know, enslaved 5 million African Americans in this country.
That's a fucked up situation. And somebody.
You think Trump will have a big moment of rage than the one because of Zelensky at the end of our office? If it's politically useful, I guess. I don't know. Are you talking about like what had happened between him and Zelensky and JD Vance and everything? Like a part 2 of that? Is that what you're saying?
I need to pull together so we can turn it around.
Would you have regretted your vote?
My vote is about my kids.
So he could literally re-implement slavery, and you still would have stood behind your vote for him.
If it impacts my children,
it didn't impact your children.
That's what I'm saying. If it doesn't impact any in my family, then no.
I mean, that was a terrible way for the caller to frame that, but in general, people only vote for things that directly benefit them or their group, and they don't really care about anyone else. Even when they claim they are voting out of compassion for others, those tend to be the most selfish types of people. This also applies to Dean, as I can assure you that he does not care about Democrats who are trying to effectively reinstate slavery through illegal aliens, because it personally benefits his career to promote the idea of breaking U.S. law to cross the border. I think I've heard enough leftists basically make the without the slaves, who will pick the cotton argument in my lifetime to see that if it was 1860, you could easily convince at least most of Dean's target audience to be pro-slavery. But I guess the more valuable point here is that Dean is so bad at arguing and so avoidant of the trans issues talk that he has to create weird hypotheticals to smear his opponent to win an argument instead of talking about things that actually happened.
Would you regret your vote for Trump if Donald Trump systemically slaughtered every black person?
Because I already told you it's not about Trump. I just told you that. It could be anybody. I don't vote for him for anything else. That's it. According to what you played, the audio you played, it sounds like he's a horrible dude. But if you get Trump out of office right now, the next person get in, no matter who it is,
So that guest was an actual psychopath to the fullest extent of what that word means. That was completely, just absolutely deranged. Can we all agree that people like that shouldn't be able to vote?
I like how Dean shut off the caller's mic right before he was about to say that politicians in general have done a lot of evil things. And if you take one out, his replacement is likely to be a piece of shit
Something
too,
more dramatic?
which is something that most people
I don't
would
think it's
agree with.
impossible.
That was very honest and fair of Dean to cut off the more
It's just-
reasonable
it's just
part of his
semantic.
take,
It's just
and then
a question
call him
of whether or not
a
it's gonna be
psycho.
useful at this
But
point.
Dean, I think you'll find that most voters share extremely similar sentiments to your caller and will ignore insane
I wouldn't
amounts
put
of
it past
bad
him, though.
behavior if it's from their favorite candidate. I'm sure he knows that. He argues with people professionally, which is why he brought up completely retarded hypotheticals, so his opponent would look bad after falling for the trap. He's really just clip farming here. He spends the whole interview using false evidence as fact, does everything he can to take the caller out of context, makes up extreme and irrelevant hypotheticals, and says the caller is a psycho at the end. Well, as stated in Rules for Radicals, ridicule is a man's most potent weapon. Dean has to do that because he can't win on merit. And think of how embarrassing this is. As a professional, without using bad faith tactics, he can't even defeat an unprepared, low information caller who admittedly is a single issue voter. That is pathetic. But again, Dean, are you sure that violence is a route that you want to go down? Remind me which party is responsible for effectively all the political violence. Like how many people on the left have said to kill white people or Jews, or have said things that are disgustingly racist for the purpose of justifying those things.
Jewish is not an ethnicity. This constructed ethnicity. This demonic ethnicity.
Also note that this guy, Mike from PA, DMCA'd the Reddit archive of this to cover up what was said. And what about Destiny saying that Trump and his supporters should be killed? Well, I mean, a lot of the left is saying that these days. Taylor Lorenz made a whole compilation of it. In fact, speaking of Taylor, she and Hassan Piker did a talk where he openly encouraged terrorism.
874 beam drive, and I'm gonna kill you with my AR-15. Like that's the type of messages they were leaving in this dude's office, and he's resigning. Like he's literally, this is his last term. So I think that people are a lot more radical now. This is a time, is an unprecedented time. And you actually wrote about this, and it was a great video where you talked about, someone has to do it. See, when I say that, everyone knows exactly what I mean. That which is, I think that shows that there's a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and untapped potential. Untapped revolutionary potential, as a matter of fact.
Man, get your girl to look at you the way Taylor looks at Hassan. Imagine that power couple. Also, why the hell has this guy not been arrested? Are they just gonna let him incite violence over and over again to a huge audience with no consequences? I will say this though, because in the past, I used to be more kind towards people like Dean or people in the Hassan group chat, and certainly, I still will give them credit for making good arguments, and I will try to counter-argue in good faith. I do that for the audience and not out of respect for a person like Dean. However, I also now realize that a lot of people out there are just evil or demonic and only use their words, emotions, or kind sentiments to deceive people.
Demons use words to trick humans. You can't trust a thing they say. It's in their blood. They're descended from liars.
A very on-the-nose metaphor from anime. Not to say that I include everyone I criticize in this category. For example, I think Ludwig deserves harsh criticism, but I also think he can redeem himself. I've never thought that Ludwig is like Hassan, despite the fact that they are friends. Ludwig is more of a coward who makes stupid decisions than he is malevolent. But as for the others, I no longer believe they deserve the humanization and respect that I used to give them, as they will only see that as a weakness that they can use against you. These people are evil, and the only thing they deserve is to be severely punished for what they've done. And when I include Dean in this category, it's not just how he debates. What I mean is that like just a couple of years ago, he was trying to pull an Andrew Tate Hustlers University scam.
While you guys are at home sitting on your asses, I just took a private jet out to LA with $1 million in this rental passenger seats in a Coach duffel bag, couple grand in the lap. I'm about to go drop it at Louis Vuitton.
When I opened up the pre-order for my e-Bible, which goes over effectively every single way I've been able to live my dream life at 17 years old by making money online.
Yeah, people are really going to believe a 17-year-old is a multimillionaire real estate mogul or whatever who has advice that's worth paying for. Look, he's even copying Andrew Tate's posing, and he tried to crypto scam people too. The crypto part is explained in this next clip that is the courtesy of this YouTube video by Remnant777 that very much does not have enough views on it.
The university will teach highly specific skills such as influencer management and advanced cryptocurrency trading.
By the way, for some reason, all this stuff is still online, even though it's 3 years old. You can go to this
Didn't
Telegram
PPG
here and
give
fact
Mike
check it
from PA a
yourself.
bunch of money?
However, when all this Andrew Tate scam artist stuff didn't work for him, Dean moved into politics because there's a ton of money in politics if you want to lie to people professionally. Just ask Nancy Pelosi. And a lot of Dean's videos seem to go like the one where he's arguing about locker rooms. He starts the conversation off semi-politely, goes completely off topic, and then tries to accuse the opponent of being the devil, which brings us to one of Dean's latest dramas. Now, the full context of this, I believe, is lost because Dean memory holed it after the backlash, but he and the caller appear to be talking about Trump's ownership of the Miss Teen USA pageants and his appearance in the locker room that I spoke about earlier. Now, just as a reminder, as far as I'm aware, no degenerate behavior occurred at the teen pageants, and since Dean has not provided any counter evidence in these clips, they're basically slander. Anyway.
You're going to tell me that the parents of the teenagers aren't there either? I mean, I wouldn't send my kid to a pageant by themselves.
He's such a
Do you think that a parent can consent to a teenager being perved on by an old man?
That's the whole point of a beauty pageant is people looking at teenagers clammed up, dude. I don't know what else to tell you. I think they're weird in the first place. You're glorifying young women and children in the first place.
I agree. I think beauty pageants for minors should be outlawed, or at the very least, certain parts of them should be.
So you're a father of a young daughter. Do you think you have the right...
I'm not.
Is that a young son?
Yes.
Do you think that you have the right, as the father of that son, to consent to having older people take pictures of your son while your son is naked?
If I was dumb enough to send my kid in, it's no different than a baby commercial for diapers.
Can you answer my question? Do you think that you have the right to consent to 65-year-old men looking at your son while he's naked?
I wouldn't allow it.
Do you think that you have the right?
Father.
Do you think that you have the right to allow it? Do you think if you did allow it, that you would be violating the consent of your child?
They have no choice in the matter whatsoever. It's my decision as the parent, and I wouldn't put my kid in that situation. That's why I think pageants are weird in the first place.
I'm not sure where Dean is going with this. For one, children don't have the right to legally consent to anything, which is why good parenting is important. Second, Dean is acting like a 65-year-old who is not the parent, has never changed a child's diaper before, or he's acting like parents don't give consent for a doctor to see a child without clothes on to perform an exam, or that naked baby pictures aren't a thing that people commonly consent to. It really depends on the context of the situation, and the context in this case is that Trump met a bunch of fully dressed teenagers in front of their parents, which is something that I can imagine that basically everyone's okay with. I really don't like how people like Dean are trying to make everything pedophilia. Oh my God, this guy's attracted to a fully grown adult. What a creep. Or how dare Chris Evans be in a relationship with a woman in her 20s? So after this moment that he farmed out of the collar, Dean decides to do a thumbnail pose of his extreme shock for like 30 seconds, and then he does this.
So here's what we're going to do. I think that you don't deserve to have any custodial rights over your child. So for those watching, their handle is Goatman91096.
And why are you trying to dox people, dude? That's weird.
Because I want to find who you are so I could call CPS and have them take your child away from you.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure you would like to try to do that.
Yes, I would. So
they would never even do it. That's the best part.
Okay.
Because I would take the part, and I have a witness sitting here who's heard me say I would never put my child in that situation.
Okay. So what's your name?
This is why I have no problems with comparing people like Dean to a demon from a popular fantasy series. This is literally evil. He's going to call the CPS on someone to win a debate. And you know he got this idea from the whole Ethan Klein drama where a bunch of Hassan viewers and groupies like Denims called the CPS on Ethan and laughed as they tried to have his kids taken away for basically the same reason, which, again, was to win an internet argument.
All these people, incidentally, who are promoting this type of insanity are, in fact, childless and will likely remain that way.
Yeah, it's not a shock that it's always childless losers who are doing this to people with kids. Only a complete piece of shit would try to alienate a child from their parents over internet drama. So naturally, Dean starts to educate people on how to dox someone, which is a crime, by the way. Doxing is a crime where he lives.
So you said that you think that parents have every right to exploit and traffic their children. So
no, that's not what I said.
So I'm not going to debate it with you. That is what you said. So I just putting this out there for anybody. Feel free to take his profile picture. Maybe you could go on TikTok.com/his handle. You could save his profile picture.
Use some face scanner software.
Image search. Maybe it will link back to like a Facebook or something where you could find his name. Feel free to take that information and report it to CPS. I really hope that there's at least one person out of the 11,000 people watching right now that has the, you know, the technical know-how, the ability and the skill to find that information, and the desire to then turn around and take it to the authorities.
This is not only dangerous for that guy, as he could be swatted, but also teaching tons of viewers how to dox people is bad for the entire creator space because you're empowering crazies with information on how to harass people. This weaponizing the CPS and encouraging your viewers to dox people is something you should go to jail for, yet Dean receives zero consequences for it. I don't think he even got in trouble with YouTube or TikTok despite it being against the rules. But of course, this is all for the sake of the kids.
And yeah, we look out for children here. I think that we can all agree here.
We look out for
that
children
we
here.
care about children's safety. And that was a father that said that he believes he has every right to exploit and traffic his child, and that the child has no say.
Yeah, he didn't say that. What happened was that you created one of your dumb hypotheticals to attack the caller because you're retarded and don't know how to have a conversation without being deceptive. The caller responded, "I would never do that because I think it's wrong," which was not the answer that you wanted, so you just went ahead and lied about what he said to get your audience to harass him with fraudulent CPS calls. Dean, you're literally a child predator. You said their parental rights should be taken away because you disagree with them on politics. Again, do you see why I called him evil? He's trying to alienate that kid from his mother and his father, or get them doxxed and swatted over an internet argument. That's predation on a kid. You're trying to cause harm to a child to get TikTok points, and quite honestly, I don't understand why none of these people face any legal consequences for openly committing crimes. Not to mention that social media platforms seem to enforce their rules on everyone else, except for people like this.
God, it's so cringe. He's acting so performatively right now. Like he's acting like he's like the coolest anime protagonist. Like he's calm, collected anime protagonist.
Dean did a follow-up video to this event where he doubles down and sort of fake apologizes. There's not much point in showing it because almost all of it is a rehash of what I just showed you, followed by talking about how he is morally justified to do what he did. And at the very end, he gives a great Frogan-style non-apology where you say, "I could have handled it better," instead of saying I'm sorry.
It's not called doubling down if you're right.
So Dean is like a complete psycho with how he will Andrew Tate-style scam people, take people out of context, and falsely accuse his opponents. I don't claim to have watched all of his content, but in the content I have watched, the dark triad debate tactics are always present. For example, this next video called "MAGA Bro Denies and Deflects His Way Through Our Entire Debate." What a title. I'm sure none of that is a projection. Anyway, this video is a heated discussion about illegal aliens and deportation.
I think that mass deportation is a terrible policy, and I usually categorize 3 reasons why. The first category would be the economy, the second category would be ethically, and the third category would be practically. It fails in the ethical category. I mean, that one's going to be obvious. We're ripping mothers and fathers that are hardworking away from their families.
Wow, that's a super interesting thing that you said there. You mean to say that you think it's wrong to separate children from their parents? Weird how in this context that matters to you. With that said, I'm just going to summarize Dean's main points here to save us some time. Dean believes that deporting illegals hurts the economy because it lowers the GDP, which, by the way, is not a great example of the economic health of the average citizen. He says that deportation is not ethical and it's not practical. His current stance is that only the criminals should be deported. And for everyone else, what he says next is how he would handle people illegally crossing the U.S. border.
And then it fails in the category of practicality because it is really hard to do, and there's other solutions that we could go about and use to identify everybody in this country, such as mass amnesty, that would be more practical.
Yeah, just don't enforce the law. That's his solution.
Yeah,
give
drop the link
everyone
in
legal
the,
status,
in the,
basically.
in the
Make it
channel.
not a crime to cross the border.
Down.
Which I guess technically would be a more practical way to identify people because maybe they would voluntarily report themselves to be registered.
Now you're talking.
I mean, they could also voluntarily leave the
move,
country.
baby.
That's an option as well. But more importantly, Dean's mass amnesty plan doesn't disincentivize.
What's that? I'm broke. Cheer 3 bits. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh shit! I'm almost at the 400 followers mark. Sweet.
Millions of people from illegally crossing the border. In fact, it would encourage more people to do it, so it's not a solution. Every country has finite resources. You can't just give them all away for free like we're doing with illegals. I also think this is completely tone deaf with how many legal immigrants hate the illegals. These days, I see videos of them getting dissed for not assimilating to American culture on a regular basis.
Hola, ¿habla español?
Excuse me, does anyone speak Spanish?
No. ¿Hay alguien que habla español aquí? ¿Me da la número 10?
I'm sorry, we're closed.
Damn right, don't help them. Also, allow me to remind everyone that this is a bipartisan issue. Both the left and the right don't like illegals. Don't let grifters like Dean fool you into thinking that this is a left versus right battle. It's not. Traditionally, the left has been very against illegal aliens, and most people don't want amnesty because it's bad for the country. Anyway, next the caller makes an excellent point in reference to Dean saying that he wants to deport the criminals.
I have been watching the news for the past 4 years, and it's nothing but immigrants and sex offenders, and you don't know their criminal history.
I would have liked to have played more, but Dean cuts him off almost instantly as he's about to make a good point. The point was that Dean said that he is for deporting criminals, but no one else. So the caller counters with, if they're coming over illegally, how do you know who has a criminal history so you can deport them? I think Dean's answer might be the amnesty thing, but then they would just not apply for it, because if they do, they would get deported. So the only way to identify their criminal history under Dean's plan is to wait for them to get caught committing a crime. Do we not see a problem here? American citizens have to be subjected to possibly multiple crimes from a single illegal alien before he gets caught when he could have just been deported. And that's just for the ones who get caught. Well, sorry, I mean the ones who get caught and aren't still allowed to remain in the country like this guy was, who crashed his car and killed 2 people. So Dean, if an illegal kills someone or commits a sex crime, what do you say to the victim or their family knowing that you could have prevented that crime by enforcing border laws? Is Dean going to address this? No, he's going to immediately shift to accusations against Trump. Actually, immediately is the wrong word. It's worse than that. He doesn't even wait for the caller to stop talking before he cuts him off to change the narrative.
And if you actually look
Do you
this
think that
up,
we should get sex offenders out of the country?
Yes.
Then why'd you put a
Yes.
sex offender in the Oval Office? Donald Trump's been held civilly liable for the rape of a woman. Use your brain, bro. Connect the dots. And the funny part is like the people watching this stream are going to be like, damn, Dean just cooked him. Dean just clocked him. But no, I mean, like, it's just super common sense. You think that sex offenders shouldn't be in America, but you put one in the Oval Office. How the hell can you retrospect upon that view and not come to the conclusion that you're just an absolute raging hypocrite?
So we are again going to try to move the conversation to something the caller might be unaware of, so you can chastise him for 4 or 5 minutes about it to make everyone in your audience think he's stupid, so they ignore the fact that you never really addressed the question.
Let me ask you a question. What was that woman's name?
I don't know, but it was a...
I mean, gee, I would love to know the name of the person that you're talking about so I can fact check you, but you never say it.
Okay, let me ask you a second question. What is one piece of evidence that the unanimous jury of 9 that ruled that Donald Trump was guilty of rape and used to find him guilty?
I don't know that case.
You don't know any
case.
evidence that they used to find him guilty. Let me ask you a question. Well, where did he grape her?
Like I said, I don't know about the case.
You don't know?
No, I didn't
what
even
year?
know that Trump was a rapist
what year?
until you said that to me right now.
Oh, so you actually have no prior information about this woman, about the civil court case, about the jury that ruled he was guilty.
Yeah, that's exactly why you brought it up. You know he doesn't know about it, and because you probably already educated your audience on this topic, you can make him look stupid as a way of dismissing the very good point he was about to make about criminality. What Dean is doing is so messed up, and what's even more messed up is the case itself. But before we get into that, may I remind you that House Democrats are well known to use false allegations as a political weapon. So there's a strong chance that this was done against Trump for political reasons, like the false allegations of sexual assault against Brett Kavanaugh to try and prevent him from becoming the Supreme Court judge, and the riot they started for that same purpose. With that said, as for Trump, of course he was tried in civil court because the burden of proof is much lower in civil court. And he was accused of an assault by Jean Carroll that supposedly happened 20 years prior to the lawsuit. Already throw that case out, it's way too old. The reason the statute of limitations exists is because people's memory gets shitty over time. The way they got around that was just to straight up change the law in New York to expand the statute of limitations. Anyway, to speed things up, Trump lost the case, but here's the thing. They did not find him guilty of rape, nor is he legally a sex offender. So let me just point out, like I did earlier, that Trump sued and won against a CBS anchor for accusing him of what Dean accused him of. And personally, I think Carroll was lucky to get any victory on this case, considering that as far as I can find, really the only evidence she presented was her own story and a friend retelling her story. There wasn't a police report or a rape kit or a security camera or witnesses who were at the store who testified. So I have a really hard time believing a story from 20 years ago with essentially no evidence. Since we're on the subject of illegal border crossing, this is a person's story that Dean brought up a lot in videos that I watched.
Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. He was an immigrant that was sent to CICOT in El Salvador and beat and tortured for 3 weeks. While he was there being beaten and tortured, the Supreme Court had unanimously ruled that the Trump administration's removal of him to El Salvador was illegal and they had to facilitate his return. And then after they ruled it as illegal and told them that they had to facilitate his return, Trump's White House went on Twitter and said that he's literally never coming back. And this was all while Abrego Armando Garcia was being beat and literally tortured by the guards in CICOT in El Salvador. I mean, he's like testified to been forced to kneel from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. And if he fell out of exhaustion, he would have been beat by the guards. He testified that he was beat by the guards. Testified that the guards kind of like stuck him in a really small room with bright fluorescent lights on 24/7 with no windows.
As far as I'm aware, there's no actual proof of the torture claims, just Garcia's testimony and the reputation of the prison. Now, at face value, what I would say is that if this guy was wrongly deported, then you bring him back, apologize, give restitution, and then change protocol so that over time this kind of thing becomes less likely. Realistically, if you're deporting millions of people, then logistically you're going to have some hiccups. However, you know, when I first heard Dean tell this story before I fact-checked it, I thought this guy was a legal citizen and they just wrongfully threw him out of the country. That's not the case. It turns out that Abrego Garcia is not an immigrant like Dean said he was. He was an illegal alien. What actually happened was that Garcia crossed the border illegally and resided here for like 8 years before he went to an immigration court and got a hold on his deportation because he claimed his life was in danger. I can't exactly figure out why he was at the court, but he got arrested for loitering around a Home Depot, so that might be why. Really fighting those stereotypes. But just on those grounds, I think he should be deported because instead of applying for something like asylum right away, he avoided the government for a bunch of years and I believe only applied after he got caught.
I think every single illegal immigrant in the country should be removed. That's why we have laws. That's why we have borders. Kick them out of the country. That's right. Kick every illegal immigrant out of the country. There is zero troll when I say that every single person in America illegally should be removed. If you are illegal in the country, leave.
Not far enough. H-1B visas are the slave labor of the middle class because you can just fire them and essentially get them deported if they try to organize. These visas need to be cut way the hell down. Microsoft should not be firing American workers to get cheap labor from India.
There are many examples of this, such as Microsoft recently cutting thousands of American workers while requesting 14,000 more H-1B workers this year. Another example of this was Tesla, where roughly 15,000 American employees were fired in April 2024, and many were replaced with H-1B visa holders. On Twitter, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy tried to chalk this up to these immigrants just simply being the best and the brightest. Yeah, okay. You're paying them less for longer hours and more work, and they're willing to deal with it in order to stay in the country. It's coercive, exploitative, and, dare I say, not very America first.
Allow me to remind everyone that Shoe on Head is on the left and also a fan of that Bernie Sanders clip where he says that open borders are a scam. Immigration policy is not a right versus left issue. Most Americans do not want open borders. Anyway, back to Abrego Garcia. He was trying to skirt the system, and he should not have been rewarded for doing that. His ass should have been deported back in 2019. Wait, he actually did apply for asylum, but was denied because that's supposed to be done within a year of arriving to the country. Pace judge. Unfortunately, that was overturned. However, here's the interesting thing. There's a lot of evidence that Garcia is an MS-13 gang member, and after applying for asylum, the BBC says he got a withhold of removal status because he said that he was afraid of being persecuted by the rival gang of MS-13, so that is suspicious as fuck. Speaking of criminal behavior and accusations, I know that Dean is a believe all women type because I've watched him crash out over it, so these following allegations in Dean's eyes should be as good as true. That being said, Garcia has been accused of domestic violence multiple times by his wife, who I'm guessing he isn't legally married to, and the only reason they didn't stand is because she didn't show up to court, which might be because he threatened her or someone in the family emotionally bullied her knowing he could be deported. Garcia also is currently on trial for trafficking tons of illegals, and it sounds like he's guilty. Personally, I think it's very unlikely that you're this close in proximity to this much criminal behavior if you aren't a criminal. His trial is still ongoing, so I guess we'll see what happens.
I didn't send anything, but I have like a bot set up that usually sends out the kick notification at least. I don't normally ever send anything out. I just have like a bot that does it, but I think the Twitch bot needs to be like updated again. Something happened with the Twitch bot, or it's the same bot that does them all, but I think I need to update the settings for the Twitch bot. But the Kick bot usually sends it out. I don't know if it actually went out though. Sometimes I've seen it go like right when I start streaming. Sometimes I've seen it go like hours afterwards, so I'm not sure. All that kind of stuff I've just been completely fucking neglected and have not paid attention to. But I know I got to at least update that bot. It's in the Discord.
I think this is exactly the type of person that Dean said should be deported, yet he's defending him.
For any and all undocumented immigrants that were deported under Obama without any prior violent offenses, I disagree with that too. My view on immigration is actually a little bit further left-leaning than the Democrat Party.
Whether he gets residency or not, may I point out that Dean brought up Kilmar Abrego Garcia in every debate video that I watched. Think about what that implies. It implies that deportation of people who have some legal right to be here happens so infrequently that this is the example that he has to use. So like I said, I think Dean purposefully brings up these very nuanced cases that are incredibly difficult to research to make people look stupid so he doesn't have to address any actual arguments. I mean, it took me hours to read through Abrego Garcia's case. And worse, he'll actually make fun of and bully people for trying to fact check him live.
I'm trying to find something here, trying to look it up as we're going. Say the question so I can type it in.
Say the question so you could type it in? Type it into where? ChatGPT?
No, not ChatGPT and Safari, so I can see what you're talking about.
Wait, you see what I'm talking about?
Again, no one person can know everything there is to know about politics, so the point is to purposefully bring up a random fact or a story to make your opponent look stupid, and its relevance to the conversation doesn't matter that much. It gets worse with Dean, though, because when a different caller actually does get him on something, he just changes the rules of the debate. In this call, they're talking about the border again, and Dean is busy saying that Trump violated the Constitution, so as a gotcha point, Dean asked the caller to name a Democrat who has committed a crime to create some sort of metaphor.
Dude, I could do this too. I want you to give me an example of anything illegal that any Democrat has ever done.
Anything illegal that any Democrat has done.
Yes, ever.
I mean, Bill Clinton with a 17-year-old Monica Lewinsky.
Monica Lewinsky wasn't 17.
Questionable.
Okay. 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 So she was 24 in 1997, but you're saying that she was under the age of 18 when she started going to the White House. Maybe this was like potential coercement. Okay, I'm not going to use that as an example to show my hypothetical. Would you give me another example? Okay, Andrew Cuomo. What about him? He was a governor, by the way.
Governor, yes. Okay.
And what did he step down for?
For sexual harassment.
To be fair, I can't confirm if these specific Clinton grooming allegations are true or not, and sexual harassment is the least of Cuomo's crimes, but Dean just got wrecked. Is he going to disavow these people like he constantly asks people to disavow Trump? No, he's not. He's instead basically going to tell the caller that's not fair and change the terms of the question that he asked.
Can you give me an example of like something illegal that a Democrat has done that isn't like sexual? Like, because I'm just, okay, I'll explain to you the point that I wanted to make, but you're like only bringing up examples of like sexual harassment and pedophilia, and I don't want to like describe what I want, like my retort to your original argument as it relates to like sexual harassment or pedophilia. I just don't want to distort like an allegation of SA or P3
I mean, that's real strange of you to request that in this case, considering all the statements that you made about Trump. He was trying to create a metaphor out of this around confirmation bias, where he would hypothetically say that as a Democrat, any crime a politician commits doesn't count as long as he likes them. And the reason he didn't want to use the caller's examples is because he didn't want to distort the allegations of a sex crime. Bro, you literally have done that multiple times to your opponents, to the extent where you might be found guilty of defamation if you were sued. The hypocrisy here is ridiculous, and there's so much bias. In this next clip, they're talking about how the caller thinks that America should not grant birthright citizenship to the children of illegals, because that should only be granted to people with parents who are citizens. During this, Dean argues that deporting somebody with the current legal interpretation of birthright citizenship is a constitutional violation.
Okay, but now you're saying that you just legally, so you morally don't support giving citizenship to the children of undocumented immigrants. Well, I mean, that would call for like taking the proper legal channels in order to amend the Constitution, okay? Right, we obviously can't just say because Donald Trump doesn't like the Constitution and you agree with it, that you don't like the Constitution either, that you could just throw the Constitution out of the fucking window.
Sure, it is unconstitutional. I mean, I could take the L on that and say that EO was unconstitutional.
Okay, all right. The EO is unconstitutional. And then earlier in the conversation, you said, well, if it was unconstitutional, why hasn't he been impeached for this? Basically telling me and everybody else listening that you think if a president does something unconstitutional, such as an EO banning birthright citizenship or banning guns, they should be impeached. So now that I've got you to concede that that was unconstitutional, you're now going to turn around and call for his impeachment, correct?
Sure.
Okay, so then you're no longer a Trump supporter because you think he should be thrown out of office.
I'm still a conservative.
I mean, this is just ridiculous. Remember how Dean talked about how much he likes Obama? Well, Obama constantly violated the Constitution. While I will say that I do believe that we should take the proper legal channels to amend birthright citizenship, what I really don't like is how people like Dean will say that you're violating the Constitution if you want to deport kids with their parents, but at the same time, if you want to follow the Constitution by saying only the parents have to leave, well, then you're separating families if a sociopathic parent refuses to take their kids with them when they get deported. So this is like intentionally designed to be an unwinnable argument through emotional bullying. The correct answer is to not play this game by saying that you don't care and by saying that they shouldn't have broken the rules and they can either fly a plane back to their country of origin with their kids or those kids can go into the foster system. Them being negligent parents is not our problem. They have the option to be with their kids if they want. 2, I think probably most people would agree that birthright citizenship should be abolished for children born to non-citizens or people without some legal status like a green card. We're all quite tired of illegals using anchor babies as human shields while saying, have some compassion to stay in the country. Trying to manipulate people by threatening to abandon your child if the U.S. deports you for breaking the law is very morally close to child trafficking.
They talk to us so that they may deceive us. Every word is a baited trap. They're monsters who found they could lure in humans by crying, help me.
If you're willing to throw your child away like that or use them as a means to an end, then I don't have any sympathy for you. But speaking of Obama, Dean, where were you on all those Fourth Amendment violations that Obama did through the Patriot Act? And since we're talking about taking the proper legal channels, did Obama do that when he started enacting all the gun control during his presidency? No, he didn't. But I guess that's okay because your friend Harry Sisson said that guns were scary.
So I shot a gun for the first time today, and I've always been told by Republicans that after the first time, I'll be in favor of guns and I'll want more guns. But for me, it was the exact opposite. I realized how powerful these guns are, and at a moment's notice, they can be used to take someone's life. And the fact that in many states in this country, you can walk into one of these stores and 10 minutes later walk out with an AR-15 is absurd. This experience made me want more gun control, not less.
Geez, is he the one who Dean called the F-slur? Oh, and here's one of my favorite Obama moments where he openly says that he was going to use executive orders to subvert the Constitution.
We are not just going to be waiting for legislation in order to make sure that we're providing Americans the kind of help that they need. I've got a pen and I've got a phone, and I can use that pen to sign executive orders and take executive actions and administrative actions that move the ball forward.
This is your hero, right, Dean? Also, he actually says this multiple times.
I'm going to be working with Congress where I can to accomplish this. But I'm also going to act on my own if Congress is deadlocked. I've got a pen to take executive actions where Congress won't. And I've got a telephone to rally folks around the country on this mission.
But I guess none of that matters to people like Dean because it's not about moral consistency or making good arguments or admitting defaults. It's about winning and making money. Well, it's a lot more about the money part.
This is every single time I see him actually doing a debate. He'll do like these weird gotchas. He'll be like, do you think that the Bible is moral? And he'll be like, yeah, I think the Bible is moral. Oh, the Bible allows slavery. You're pro-slavery? Guys, this guy's pro-slavery. It always becomes him trying to trick people into like admitting to like paradoxes and stuff. It's like someone will say, yeah, I believe in God. And then he'll be like, oh, really? Could God create a boulder that even he can't lift? And it's like, bro, this is like, what are we doing? Oh, you can't answer the question. Do you concede God is not real? And it's like, oh my fucking God, dude.
Dean does that because he's not smart enough to succeed without it. And the rules for radicals tactics that he's using are incredibly hard to defeat without the debate turning into a shouting match. So if you're Dean, then you either win or you draw. And a draw is always considered a win by a person's own fan base. I think the only person who has successfully defeated this in my memory is Jordan Peterson against Kathy Newman, and then a second time with that GQ lady. But like I said, the only reason they're doing this is because they can't succeed otherwise.
The reason why they do this is because they're not getting any attention for their actual content. And so instead of that, they piggyback on internet hate mobs online in order to create the illusion of relevancy. That's what's happened.
To be clear, Asmongold is talking about Anthony Fantano here, but this situation bears a close resemblance to Dean failing at his Andrew Tate grift and then moving on to woke TDS virtue signaling. It's not about the morals, it's about the money. And to be clear again, I'm not saying that as a content creator you can't make money, but if you're doing so immorally, then that's a problem. And you know people like Dean don't give a fuck about morals, because if they cared about that, then they wouldn't constantly lie and misrepresent everything, because that harms the audience and the country. They also wouldn't call the CPS over an internet fight. These people are criminals, and they need to actually get punished for doing bad things. There's been a severe lack of that happening in this country, and what that does is it allows retards to speak over the smarter and more honest people on their side. Smart videos like this one here by Sean that was pretty good, or this one by Man Carrying Thing. The idea is to create a culture where people are actively looking for creators who are trying to be honest in their interpretation or their analysis, instead of looking to people like Dean Withers or Andrew Tate who are just there to scam their audience for money. And the answer to that is to actually hold people accountable for their crimes, which is something that we're actually getting better at slowly recently. People are starting to learn that mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent, and that applies personally as much as it does politically. Politics is just the representation of the sum total of everyone's personal lives, meaning that the more you let people walk all over you and the more that you don't hold people accountable for doing bad things in your personal life, the more you'll enable that to be done politically. Because if everyone's just a pushover, then we won't have enough strong people to stop all the criminals. And for those asking what to do or how they can make things better, all you have to do is stop putting up with bullshit. That's all it takes. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.
However, modern feminism, especially throughout the past 80 years or so, always has said it's a patriarchy run by men. No, it's a system run by those most capable that happen to be men.
Well, I want to make this argument, though, and it's an oversimplification, but basically our brain has two hemispheres, right and left, and there's one that they consider more emotional and one that's more logical, and that they say men use the logical side and women use the emotional side more. And I would argue that if you're more emotionally intelligent, that could make up for your logical intelligence. So even though you're not like a brainiac, a woman that has smart emotional intelligence can be just as successful. You don't agree?
Trying to open your phone.
I know, I'm just saying, you don't agree that how that can, or I guess Myron, I mean, you don't think that that can overcome for logical intelligence, emotional intelligence?
That's not a thing.
Well, that is a thing.
There's emotional stability and rationality.
There's emotional intelligence. That's a real thing. Yeah, because it makes it like when somebody provokes you, whether you react. Men are more reactionary. Women are less reactionary. So the emotional part of your brain is actually very important. Even when you're driving, like if you get mad in road rage, like
that's just more greater male variability of stuff. Like the guys who are going to be the best are going to be calm, reasoned, and the same thing is true for women. But there will be more men than women.
But on average, women are more reasonable than men because they use
agreeable.
Agreeable, whatever you want to say. I'm just saying.
Agreeable is really, really important when you predict for people who are like rising to the top of like organizing people. Agreeability and the ability to work with others is an essential part, particularly of our modern like economy.
I disagree. That's how you get a bunch of yes men circle jerking each other.
Yeah. No, not at all. Being agreeable doesn't mean that you don't have boundaries, right? Being agreeable means that you can like see what the priorities are and you can try to work together and find cohesiveness. I don't know what to tell you when it comes to like some of the best managers and some of the best like high senior VPs. The reality is that agreeableness predicts really strongly for this. The only people where disagreeableness predicts is typically for the CEO. But again, I don't have an issue with like men being CEOs necessarily.
Right, I would just like to say, so I'm not for like the infantilization of women in any capacity, whether that's women. I just would like it to be a level playing field in terms of some women will go out and be successful and have very successful high earning careers such as myself, and but without needing to be like calling my dad to ask if I can fuck a guy or whatever it is that Myron wants. Either side of that infantilization, I'm against. I'm a human being with agency.
If you ask your dad.
If I ask my dad? So, because you said that before, right? Like mating decisions. So should I call my dad and ask if I can fuck, or should I just call my dad and ask if he has to pull out?
Well, my thing is you should be calling your dad. Well,
You just expose yourself as a 304, but that's fine. I mean, I think you should be.
That's okay. You can sit and call a married woman with a child a hoe.
Yeah.
That says a lot more about you than it does about me, babe.
Well, you're the one making crass jokes, so I'm jumping in with you. So the point is that I think the father should actually be involved.
Calling me
I think
a hoe.
I think the father should be involved actually in the mating process with a woman. I think the dad should actually be intimately involved with picking the guy, because when women are left to their own
Dad,
devices,
can I fuck?
That is kind of weird. All right, guys,
Should he pull out?
Does he like hold your hand while you do it?
That's the future you want.
Is he pushing his asses a little bit more to help?
Here we go. She's not even going to let me speak. It's very simple. So I actually think that fathers should be involved in their daughters' mating decisions, because here's the thing with women. You guys tend to pick the bad boy or the guy that might not necessarily be the best long-term suitor when you're at your highest value. So when the father comes in, he's able to assess this guy, be like, no, this guy doesn't really want you for you. He just wants to use you for sex. I don't want this guy. I'm going to go find you another guy that's going to actually, love you and be with you long-term and provision. This is why arranged marriages work for so long. When women are able to make their own decisions, they do dumb shit. So it is what it is.
It's like when the farmer dad chases the guy out of the house with the shotgun, saying, "Get away from my daughter."
No, it's like when Hulk Hogan called Brooke Hogan.
Yeah, we got
to. Next person, real quick, come up to the stage. We got Carly Nocta. Carly Nocta, are you here, Carly Nocta? What? Okay, no Carly Nocta.
These people were like, "I want to come up and debate, but I'm not going to show up."
Yeah, all right. Our next person, Jay Zollers. Is Jay Zollers here? Jay, get your ass up here. I see you getting up. Give it up for Jay.
Is that a beer?
He's got a beer.
I hope he's drunk.
I hope he's wasted. Come on down, Jay.
Alex, you want him straight up on stage?
No. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah, what if
this guy's drunk, probably. Come on.
All right, as there's obviously a fertility crisis all across the world, Japan, Korea, United States, everything, there should be certain things that need to be implemented to fix that. But let's be honest, should people who do not have children collect Social Security? Or should they be banned from getting Social Security at the end of the day?
What?
Make that a requirement for Social Security is having kids.
That's retarded. Who cares? Okay, you got something better than that? Let's go.
Oh, no, man. Like, just enjoying
All right,
the
go
time,
sit
man.
down, Jay. Go sit down. Thank you.
Give it up. It is a good point.
I didn't see that one coming.
It is a good point, but it's very granular to the whole debate that the system that we have now is overly compassionate to the point of detriment.
Well, I got the next person I'm calling up. She can come straight up here. Amber Duke. Where's Amber Duke? Come on. Amber. Come on down, Amber. Amber's a beast. I'm curious to see which side she's going to take, though.
Did they autograph the mustard?
So much nuance.
Okay, yeah, I know. It is, see, that is the thing. Is Myron? That's the only complaint that I really have, though, is that I do think it is a nuanced situation, right? Like, women aren't all retarded and dumb, you know?
Well, just a lot of them.
Just the majority of them. Yeah.
A lot of them.
My husband would agree with you, but I had a question.
Smart guy.
Are you religious?
No.
Okay. I was just curious because it explained a lot of your comments. But I actually wanted to challenge you on your claim that women don't have empathy.
Okay, sure.
I actually think the
Let me clarify, though. When I talk about empathy, I mean as into the masculine experience and how men, like, to us. Because, and this is why so many women struggle with keeping a guy long term. Like, men have to understand women to get laid. Women don't have to understand us to get laid.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Isn't it that men can't keep a woman long term since they're the ones divorcing him?
What was that?
Isn't it that men can't keep women long term since women are the ones initiating most divorce? So
Well, what I'm saying is
get
that a
better
lot
at
of
their
modern
empathy?
day women, when I talk to them and they say, like, one of the top questions I get with girls is like, well, what do guys want? Especially more attractive men. And it's amazing to me that they even have to ask that, because with men, if we don't know what women want, we just have to deal with the consequences. But with women, they can kind of get along in life and meet guys and date and everything without really knowing what men want. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so my point about empathy was actually that I think the reason perhaps why you think women don't have empathy is because of these issues we're talking about with women getting married later in life and having children later in life. The empathy is not directed towards the family unit anymore, and it's actually extrapolated to outside groups, which is why we see things like tent cities and an outsized focus on minority groups.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, they can absolutely have sympathy. But when I'm talking about empathy specifically, I'm talking about the male experience and like kind of how men go through things in life. Like, I don't think women are empathetic to the masculine experience. Whereas like men, we have to understand women to some level if we want to be successful. And if you look at guys that like are really good with women, like pickup artists or dating coaches or whatever, they have a very fine-tuned understanding and empathy to women because they're trying to get laid. So they have to be able to think ahead on what the woman's going to expect, what she's going to want, the type of vibe she's going to want when it comes to making something sexual. So I argue that men are far more empathetic than women are, especially guys that are good with women. So I don't think women are empathetic to men because they don't have to.
I got to disagree with that because you're also making the point that women aren't getting good guys because they're hypergamous. And so if women are going to suffer later in life because they can't get a good guy who wants to help them have a family and be a strong protector, that is a detriment to women by... I guess what I'm saying is women need to be empathetic to the male experience if they want to have a successful family and relationship.
That's right.
Yes, but they have that comes through them learning. And my thing is, I'm saying, yes, there are some women who are capable of doing that, right? I've noticed girls that have like a strong father, a lot of brothers, like they get it. But I'm saying a lot of women don't. And they're still able to get through life fairly easily without knowing it. And it isn't until maybe later on.
So to clarify, it's not intrinsic to being a woman. It is cultural.
Yes, there's no need because no one gives a fuck about men in general. So most women are kind of like, well, why do I got to understand this guy? I'm hot. Like, take me out.
But just to clarify again, if women were raised by good dads, they would understand this, you're saying?
Most women I've met that understand this, they come from either a strong patriarch with a father, uncle, or brothers. When they do have it, they have like.
Kat, did you have something to say?
Well, I mean, I have a wonderful father. I would say I'm very grateful to have a wonderful father, and it's been such a joy to watch my husband be such a wonderful father. And we're raising a little boy who's going to grow up and be a wonderful father, I hope. And Myron, I hope that someday you can be as happy in a relationship as I am in mine.
Yo, Myron's going to have a daughter and his whole show's going to shift. He's going to be a raging liberal.
I want to say one thing to Kat, though. Kat.
Yeah.
Kat.
No daughter.
Well, I do want to say, though, that you are a female comedian, very successful in a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you give a lot of credit to having a strong father?
I give a credit to having a strong father every single day. I talk to my dad every day. I am so grateful to have the father that I have. And I think that men that are as wonderful as my father deserve all the credit in the world.
Is he funny?
He is funny.
I figured.
Yeah.
I got a real funny.
And I agree. I think that's a lot of, even in like the black community, obviously, I think it's a lot of the broken home situations, Myron, that there's actually a lot of examples where black guys have both parents there and they're incredibly successful. So I think that, the way that people are brought up, the patriarchy or whatever you want to call it is very important to their,
Well, yeah, I've always said that strong dads keep daughters off sure poles and sons out of jail. It's very important.
But isn't part of the issue that we're outlining here that you're saying is that society doesn't have empathy towards men, which I would actually just agree with. There's really good research on this, actually. If you look at like the age at which we view boys becoming men, it almost completely overlaps with the spike of suicide rates amongst young boys, which is about the age of 14. So I would actually wholly agree with you that society doesn't have like empathy for men in any way, shape, or form, right? And we have this kind of weird infantilized empathy for women that I think is actually harmful to them in a lot of ways because it robs them of a lot of their agency. But when you're saying like it's women that don't have empathy for men, I feel like you're actually missing like 50% of the pie. When it's society, nobody cares about men. They don't care that you're struggling. They don't care that you're lonely. They think your tears are gross. And I think that that's a horrible state. But I don't think this is a woman-driven thing. This is a societal issue.
I want to say this point to the infantilization of women. I think that it's very obvious, though, that women's social power only goes down with age as men's go up. Yep. So it's directly inverse. So you would want to infantilize a woman because her value is more when she's younger. So she would want to skew and tend to be more young. I mean,
sure,
isn't that right?
I think we should only infantilize children. I don't think adults.
I'm not pro, but I'm saying
I don't like infantilizing adults. I understand why. I think you're right as to like why we oftentimes like systemically infantilize women more. I just think it's harmful to both women and to men because it leads to this like really weird disjunct where if a woman is like sexually aggressive with a man, people are like, oh, he probably loved it. But if a man does the same thing towards the same age woman, we're all like, he's a monster. And I think that creates this disjoint of unparity that I think is harmful and devalues men in a way that I don't think is good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to feel sad, but I'm just saying, like, this is just the honest reality when it comes to, like, how women deal with men and how men deal with women. Like, men have to understand women, whereas women don't really have to understand men to be able to get the same access, right?
But if they understood women better, they'd probably have longer marriages and women would be leaving them less often, I'm assuming, right? Because women cite the same reasons over and over for why they end the marriages, even though I would argue to women, like there should probably be more
women end relationships a lot of times because they have this concept that they should always be happy and that overrides duty to the family. So that's another reason too why women end marriages and relationships, because we tell women that their happiness overrides everything and they'll be like, oh, you know what, I could do better. Like women have this perpetual, the grass is greener on the other side, I could do better.
It's usually I could do better without. It's usually why they're leaving men. They don't say I can find a new man who's better. They say I'd rather be single than fucking put up with this shit. That's usually why women leave men.
I have a stupid uninformed hypothesis where I think women will average at a slight state of discontent relative to men. And the reason why I think that might be is that imagine there's two tribal, plains, savanna-dwelling humans, two tribes. And in one, the woman is always content with what is. So the guy comes back and says, hey, I caught us some fish. We have food for the day. And she goes, that's perfect. The other woman in the other tribe is, no matter what happens, she's always a little unhappy and demanding more of the man. So he says, I brought enough fish for food. And she goes, why am I only getting 2 fish? This is bullshit. I want 3 fish. And he goes, okay, I'll go get you more fish. Geez, calm down. One day, there's a famine. The woman who was always complaining has more and survives, and the woman who is content does not. This is not to dig on women. I'm saying that women are demanding of their men because they want to survive, and so they constantly expect more from men.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to, like I've said this, women get mad at me when I say this, but like women are literally designed to extract value from men. Like that is what they're designed to do. We're designed to provide value. Their values, what they do is extract value. This is why,
but you don't got to say it in such like a dick way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's the
Amber,
truth.
what do you have to say, Amber?
This is why women.
Well, you're
like,
asking
this
her
is
to
why we
commit
don't
18
care.
years of her life and to carry a body that is destructive to our body. Being able to bear a child is like
we understand.
Annihilates our body.
But
well, when you're
the
saying
point I'm
where
trying
women,
to make is that women are literally designed to extract value from men.
but you're
This is why
narrativizing it
when
in a way that I think is unfair.
This is why when a woman makes more money than her man, she starts to think like, what the hell's going on here? Like women are not designed to provide long-term provisioning to a man.
That's
They're just
only
not designed.
true. That's only true that when women earn more than their male partners, that it's a problem for the relationship. If the male has a very traditional view of masculinity, and she does too, the moment that you remove a traditional view of masculinity, where, for example, the woman goes like, I'm the breadwinner, and that's totally fine with me, suddenly the relationship's completely balanced out. The data is just robust in this. I wanted to
ask
Yeah, it is. And also
women don't do well when they're
one last thing, Amber, then we're going to bring somebody
I
else
just
up.
wanted to ask.
It is also, in my experience, I would say not every man could be with me. I think a lot of men have, being with me, felt emasculated. That's cute. Have felt emasculated by me. You could never handle me, Myron. That's obvious.
I wouldn't
That's
want to.
obvious. Oh,
Thank God.
And I would never either. I would never
God.
either. But my
sound like a
man
dude.
is very,
At least
very
she's not with black
masculine
guys, so
and
that's
very,
good.
very, very strong and able to be with.
Let's try and get Amber in.
All right.
Again, this
Broad
is
question
what
for
he
the
does.
group.
Calm down.
I want to
I'm
get
not gay, and she acts like a
everyone's
guy.
opinion on this.
I had pushed a baby out of my vagina. That's about as feminine as you can get.
Well, men can't have babies.
But you talk like a guy. You have a deep voice.
All right.
Come on,
So
Amber.
I want to focus this one on third wave feminism specifically, and what I think the underlying issue is, because I'm not Myron. I'm not arguing for women to not get the right to vote, etc. But if we look at third wave feminism, I think one of the distinct problems with it is that it's not that women shouldn't be considered equal to men. It's that third wave feminism pushed the message that men and women were the same.
Yeah, I hate third wave feminism. I mean, I'm a feminist, but I'm not pro third wave feminism.
Well, we agree. All right, Amber, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys. Give it up for Amber Duke. All right, our next thing is Joe Cowman here. Joe Cowman. Joe, you here? Yeah,
Yep.
Joe, come on down to the right side.
These guys
of
are
the
all
stage.
centrally located tonight. I love it.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. What do you got for us?
Kind of retarded, but
She admits it.
good way to
Great,
start
good
off.
start.
So I have a two-part question for the feminists. Do you think that a time 200 years ago, the way that feminism and females' roles in society, do you think that that was oppressive? Yes or no?
Yeah, I mean, before women had rights, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was robbing of their agency.
So-called wisdom of toxic patriarchal places, but it ignores the dysfunction and what happens. Things are not functioning because the reality we deal with when society is patriarchal. Well, the patriarchy is benevolent. Okay. It's a god complex. Also entitled to label stuff, but I can't explain what's the case. Some things yes, some things no. Sometimes when I see him engage in certain conversations, he's definitely hitting above his weight class intellectually. I saw it when he was on Tim Pool, actually, the last time with I think Andrew Wilson and like a couple other people. You know, I think he's fine when he's like talking in this arena, like dating and feminism. I think he's talked about it so much that he's got his talking points down. But when he starts to venture out into like geopolitics and things like that, his takes become like incredibly oversimplified, and obviously he'll start fucking JQing and shit like that. So But yeah. Anyways, though, I'm gonna head out. It's been a couple hours, and I'm gonna try to have a normal day tomorrow. I'm taking off of work, so I might stream during the day. But I don't want to be up until fucking 7 or 8 o'clock on a Monday morning fucking streaming. As well, thank you, Nerdity. I appreciate it. Yep, no problem. I'll try to be on tomorrow. Like I said, I'm taking the day off, so I might just like sign on in the middle of the day and start streaming. There's some stuff I got to do during the day, so I might be working. I'm taking the day off from work, but I might be working still. I'll just not be like not working. Like, I'll be offline on Teams and things like that. But whatever. Been lurking. It's all good. It's all good. And I wanna watch this. Oh, excuse me. I wanna watch this from the beginning anyway. So it's not too long. It's only like an hour or two. Anyways, yeah. I'll see you guys later. Peace.